Deb, the meeting is up and running. I don't have any volume yet.
I just turned it on.
Okay, I see Mike. Joe, there he is. He's got his hair cut and combed, and hope to God you're wearing pants tonight.
Hey, folks, just remember to mute when you're not speaking. That'd be awesome.
Evening, guys.
Good evening.
Evening, Jeff.
Yep, we got it. Everything sounds good.
Evening, Jeff.
How are you doing, Joe?
Good evening.
Is everybody on? Is Sean on?
Yes, Jeff.
He is? Okay. Okay, we'll call the December Stearns County Planning Commission meeting to order. We'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which you stand, one God, underneath. Help me. For all. We lost it there for a little bit. That's what happens when you get old. We'll do the roll call of members. So if I call your name and you're with us, please say here. Jason Wienerman.
Here.
Sean Blackburn. Sean, are you with us?
How about now?
You're with us. Thank you. Jason Crone.
I'm here.
Ken Mossman.
Here.
Mike Perrell.
Here.
Richard Blankish.
Yes, sir.
Joe Persky.
Present.
And Jeff Bertram, the chair. I'm here. As we all know, Commissioner Persky is the advisor to the county board. He does not vote, but certainly participates in the discussion. So our first item tonight is, well, first of all, Jennifer's going to explain why we're meeting this way.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Planning Commission members. We are meeting in this manner in response to COVID-19 and pursuant to Minnesota statute, Chapter 12, relating to emergency management. Governor Walz has declared a state of emergency. Therefore, we are allowed by Minnesota statute, Chapter 13D.021, to participate via telephone or other electronic means.
Thank you, Jennifer. So for item number one, it's consider an interim use permit, submitted by James and Robin Henges, Avon. Jennifer will do the staff report.
Okay, this is a request for an interim use permit submitted by James and Robin Hentis of Avon. They are requesting to operate a vacation home rental in the R1 zoning district. This property is located at 19357 Red Oak Circle, Avon. The Henches are asking for this permit to be valid for 30 years. The property is, like I said, I apologize. In the staff report, I have access off of Elkview Road. That was for the next item. But this property is on Red Oak Circle. This home was built in 1981. At this point, they're not requesting to do any construction, but they are exterior construction or additions or new building on the property. But they're requesting to be able to rent out the home. It's on Pine Lake, which is a natural environment lake. Looking at the surrounding area, the adjacent properties are zoned R1 and R5. There's approximately 24 homes and 2 animal feedlots within a half a mile of the property. This is a 4-bedroom home. A couple of the bedrooms are a bit on the small side. So given the bedroom size, they're allowed to have 6 occupants plus the additional 2. So by ordinance, they could have up to 8 people there. The septic system was certified and is in compliance. They have plenty of space for parking. They are required to have at least 3 spots. They're not going to be renting in a recreational vehicle. By ordinance, they are required to keep a record detailing the use of the home by recording the folks who stay there, including their vehicle license number, and also required to do monitoring on the flow of their septic system, and then provide that to the department upon request. If the interim use permit is approved, they would need to obtain a lodging license from the department. Our lodging staff have been out to the property and done a walkthrough, and the property owners are aware of what they need to do to comply with the licensing requirements. So if the Planning Commission were to recommend approval, we would suggest a few conditions. Number 1, setting an expiration date. And as I mentioned, they're requesting it be valid for 30 years. The next condition would be limiting the occupancy to 8 people. A requirement to obtain a lodging license from the department before renting out the home. Install a flow measurement device on the septic system before issuing the lodging license. A requirement that they take those flow measurement readings and monitor the septic system monthly and provide those records to the department upon request. Also a requirement to track and keep record of the folks renting the home and provide that to the department upon request. And the last suggested condition is to require a ring buoy attached to a 3/16 inch manila rope or equivalent material not more than 60 feet in length. That shall be placed near the shore as life-saving equipment. So our licensing staff visited the property in October, and I was out there in December. I do have some public correspondence to share once we get to the public hearing. And at this point, I would like to ask who was able to visit the site. Do you want to go through that, Jeff?
Yep, I'll go through that. So if you were at the site, members say yes when I call your name. Jason Wienerman?
Yes.
Sean Blackburn?
Yes.
Jason Crone?
Yes.
Ken Mossman?
Yes.
Mike Prell?
Yes.
Rich Blankish?
Yes.
Joe Persky?
Yes.
And I was there as well. First, we'll do anyone that's with us. Jennifer, we'll take their testimony before we go to the letters. So we'll introduce the applicants. I understand and see that the Hengeses are with us. So please, each of you, introduce yourself for the record and state your address, please, for the record.
Okay, I'm James Henches. We live on 31128 163rd Avenue in Avon.
Robin Henches, same address.
Thank you. And then everybody, please remember when you speak, say who you are when you're speaking for the record, so we know who's speaking. Is there anything you want to add to the Henches, to the staff report at this point?
Are you asking us?
Correct. The applicants, is there anything you want to add to what Jennifer reviewed as the staff report at this point?
No, but will you give us a chance to, after you've talked about the letters, is that?
Yes, you can certainly join in at any point during the public hearing and the discussion of the planning commission members. You may need to answer some questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, then nothing at this point. Members, do you have anything to say before we go to the public? If not, we'll open the public hearing. I understand that we have one person for sure that's with us, Mike Peternell. Mr. Peternell, are you with us?
Yes. Yes.
If you want to state your name and address for the record and then share what you want to say, now would be the time.
Well, my name is Mike Peternell, and I live directly across the street at 19328 Red Oak Circle with my wife and 2 young kids. I'm completely against the idea of having a rental property or vacation rental property, more so, across the street from me. We have a nice neighborhood. Everybody knows each other, and it's not like I'm against neighbors or new neighbors by any stretch. I just don't need a new neighbor every weekend or every week. The lake is a natural designated lake of sorts. So by granting this, you will increase the amount of traffic and stuff on the lake 3 times all summer long. This wouldn't be a big deal maybe, but if the neighbor goes by the precedent you set, because you let one guy do it and the next neighbor does it, well, you can turn it into a big foamy bathtub all summer. It's a tiny little lake. It doesn't need the pressure, and I don't need to vet new neighbors every week. I guess that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else with us via audio or WebEx that would like to say something at this point? Anyone with us via audio or WebEx? If not, why don't you begin to read the letters, Jennifer?
Sure.
Which we all received the letters. Some may have had a chance to read them or not. And then, of course, for the public record, we need to enter them into the record. So,
what do you do?
okay.
Okay, so the first letter is from Brian and Jean Pilarski. They are writing to express their opposition to the vacation home rental. As a 30-year resident and property owner, the rental would be a block from my home. I did not choose this rural area to be close to a rental or a resort. The concerns they have is the increase of unknown people coming into the neighborhood, possible vandalism issues, theft, or worse, the increased traffic and noise. Our small area was not structured to implement such a business with other homes so close and small children and grandkids outside. Physical pollution, people dumping pop cans, food wrappers, etc. in the ditch. Safety, the concern of children and pets. James told me this is going to be their lake home, and he did not mention anything about a vacation rental. That becomes a burden when we all get up early for work. With party goers, there can be loud music, yelling and laughter all night, which means a call to the sheriff. We have a nice, quiet neighborhood, and we would like to keep it that way. We'd appreciate a no on this permit. Thank you, Brian and Jean Pilarski. A letter from Eric and Brianna Kurtz. I'm writing in response to the application submitted by James and Robin Henches We live across the road from the residence being questioned with 3 kids. We're not in favor of this house being rezoned from residential to a vacation rental IUP for many reasons. We like being able to know all of our neighbors and have a very trusting relationship with them. It's likely there's going to be different people at the house each week if it's a vacation rental, and you'll never know who or what type of people are there. Second, we're afraid of the house being a rental that traffic on this little road will increase. We won't be able to trust the traffic is driving slow enough or cautious with the kids around. Third, if we allow one house to be zoned vacation rental, then we will soon see all the other houses on the lake become the same. We do not want this rezoned and ask the board does not allow this to be changed from residential. There's another letter stating, as next door neighbor to the above mentioned property, we're concerned how this rental could impact us, lower property values in the neighborhood. We have concerns for our privacy and security, particularly because our house is only 11 feet away from the property. We recently spent thousands of dollars to maintain our lake access or channel that we share with this property. This channel is a spawning bed in the spring, and we take measures to not disrupt this. There also is we also share a fire pit with the above mentioned property, which is located right behind our house along with the channel. A big concern is that the renters and their visitors won't know the property lines and will very easily venture to our side of the channel and yard frequently. The channel leading to the lake is only 30 feet wide, so it doesn't take many people or watercrafts to overcrowd one side. Allowing this permit would certainly increase the traffic and the noise level on our small 107-acre lake that's always been a calm, peaceful lake. Not only will having a rental property create more lake traffic, it will most definitely create more road traffic that could be dangerous to the numerous small children, walkers, joggers, and bikers in the neighborhood. We have lived in the neighborhood for 37.5 years and enjoyed the tranquility and beauty of the lake and neighborhood. All the neighbors know each other well. It's quite unsettling to think there could be different groups of strangers every single week. At this time, we're opposed to this particular request for an interim use permit for a vacation home rental. Sincerely, Tom and Mary Lou Gretsch. And then another letter from Steve and Emily Luchins. They're also residents of Red Oak Circle, and they oppose the request. They cite that it's inconsistent with the comp plan. The proposal to allow vacation home rental goes against the Stearns County Comprehensive Plan goals and objectives to acknowledge tourism's economic value and prospective contribution of this industry to both the diversity of the county economic base and potential for growth. They cite data from many cost-benefit analysis. Regulars show the economic and social costs of vacation rentals often outweigh their benefit. For example, the Economic Policy Institute conducted an analysis in 2019 and determined in part that vacation home rentals have a negative impact on the housing market where these rentals are permitted. They cite studies showing a shift from traditional hotels to vacation home create a less reliable tax base. They also talk about how many of the travelers won't support the local economy because they bring their own food and beverage to supply their entire stay. Another concern is loss of community. Allowing a vacation rental to operate will change the character of the neighborhood. A constant revolving door of strangers will change the sense of community that's been created on Red Oak Circle. So they're concerned about the amount of strangers coming into the area. And the increased traffic, a vacation home rental on Red Oak Circle will significantly increase road traffic. In fact, it could surge up to 50% or more, which drastically increases the risk toward children and other pedestrians. Permitting 10 strangers who don't have a long-term vested interest in the welfare of the community and environmental health of the shoreline area will cause significant and lasting negative effects. So they kindly ask the chair and members of the board to deny the request to grant an interim use permit for the vacation home rental. Stephen and Emily Luchins. A letter from Tara Miller. I'm writing in regards to a potential rental property for James and Robin Henches. I own property right next door. Our address is 19315. My husband and I purchased this from my parents. This is the house I grew up in, so I have 31 years tied to the property. I have many concerns about the rental property. My first is that it doesn't seem to really fit in the neighborhood. There's no other rentals in this development. My second concern is there are families with very young kids. They all run and play together, which means they are biking on the road, running to each other's houses, etc. As neighbors, we're all aware of this and drive slow and with caution. I'm concerned if this is a rental, there will be added traffic and people will not be aware and as cautious. And another concern is being a neighboring property. I'm concerned with different people being there all the time and what could happen and issues. Thank you for your time, Tara Miller. And then the last letter we received was from Avon Township, and they state that they are concerned how the rental could impact the neighborhood, especially regarding noise and large numbers of renters parking on the township road. They recommend approval only if strict policies are adopted to avoid these potential issues. So they did suggest a few conditions, which are on the screen for you there, including quiet hours, minimum rental of 1 week to avoid rowdy groups coming to party for a weekend, prohibit parking on the road, a sign posted on the property providing neighbors with the phone number of the owner and the sheriff in the event that either is needed. And then they suggest having a trial period such as a 5-year permit. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to check again, just in case. Is there anyone with us, audio or WebEx, that would want to say something at this point? What we're going to do is we're going to be closing the public hearing here at some point. If everyone said what they wanted to say, the applicants will have to answer some questions. But Mr. Peternell, if you want to say something, now would be the time, and then we're gonna close the public hearing then.
I would like to say one thing. I definitely appreciate what our Avon Township wrote. But if by some wild chance you actually allow this to go through, it should definitely not be for more than a year. I don't need 5 years of crap to decide we don't need this. I guess that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. Then if there's no one else with us that would want to say anything except for the applicants, is there anyone else with us? If not, motion would be in order to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, this is Rich. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Mike Pearl, I'll second it.
Rich Blankish, Mike Perrell moves and seconds to close the public hearing. I will take a roll call on that. If you're in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Jason Wienerman.
Aye.
Sean Blackburn.
Aye.
Jason Crone.
Aye.
Ken Mossman.
Aye.
Mike Perrell.
Aye.
Rich Blankish.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So before we start our own discussions, the Hedges, maybe now would be the time for you to add some comments.
Okay, this is Jim Henches. We were in front of your board about 3 years ago and started a vacation rental out of our home in Collegeville Township. We've been doing it for almost 3 years now. It's a fairly large home, so we've been looking for another place that eventually that we would move to. This place came available. It just so happens that our daughter and son-in-law bought land on the south end of this lake and are building a cabin, which eventually will be their permanent home. So concerns about us getting too crazy out there. We got family members that keep an eye on this. And it is within 10 minutes of our property where we live at now.
Yeah. So I understand the objections and the concerns. And actually, the last time we came before you, we didn't know a lot about vacation rentals and how they worked. We'd always, stayed in resorts or motels. But we've had the opportunity now to do this for 3 years and have become, experienced at it. One of the things we appreciate is that we run on platforms called Airbnb and VRBO, and that's where we get our guests. And it is highly regulated, besides the regulations that we have to, with the county having the name, the address that they live at, their telephone number, and the car license of every registered guest that's on the property. We know everybody that will be on that property, but Airbnb helps us keep track or helps us get that. And there's rules that go along with that. So on there, before a guest decides that they're going to stay, like let's talk about this property because we've experienced this, but before they're going to stay here, they see all of our rules. And what the township said, I can understand that. I would want that same thing if that was my home, and our neighbors wanted that same thing. So we do have, if I look at what's on our rules, it says that we want them to be comfortable, and we leave our number in each of the suites. So we would leave that with the neighbors as well. If there was ever an issue, we want to know right away. We're only 10 minutes away, but we would want to know about that right away. Only authorized and registered guests. It says no parties or gatherings, and no non-registered guests would be welcome. So it wouldn't just be strangers in and out.
We've done this for almost 3 years, have not had one bad guest. We've been very fortunate. We do have cameras on the exterior of our property at every entrance, so we know who comes and goes. We get alerts. And like Robin said, we have rules for no partying. On the Airbnb platform, when people stay at your place, they rent you, or they rate how your place was from 0 to 5. And Robin's been able to get 5s on every guest that's been here. And then in turn, as owners, we rate the guests. And they don't want to get a bad rating either because they continue to rent at different vacation rental places.
Right. So we haven't had the parties. We haven't had crazy drivers. In fact, kind of a funny story, we checked in with our neighbors. We live on a road even more private than Red Oak is. It's a private road with 4 other neighbors. And we checked in within that first year, when we'd bump into our neighbors and say, how's it going? Is there anything, that we need to know about? And one of the neighbors said, well, actually, you know what? We all kind of thought there was going to be increased traffic, but it's actually less traffic than any one of us had teenagers in the neighborhood.
And another, one thing that may have made this a little bit easier for our neighbors is we haven't had a chance to introduce ourselves. We closed on the property the first week of November, and I came down with COVID, which kind of locked me up for about 3 weeks. We have been out to the house. Our little dog has visited a couple of the neighbors where Robin has met them, but we haven't really had a chance to talk to them. They don't know who we are.
One of the neighbors we did.
Yeah.
So we do understand their concerns, and we want that neighborhood to stay safe. We want good property values there. We want to hopefully retire there someday.
That's our plan. We're a few years away from retirement. Is end up out on that lake with our kids right across the lake from us.
Right. So really, what we're looking to do is we're not looking to pack it up all year long. We're looking to let someone else use that property, let a guest use that property on the weeks that we choose not to use it to help pay for our mortgage.
And we would like, the township said only week-long renters. We would, and weekend people come out of the cities to get away and just relax. They don't come up, we haven't had one party at our house. They just come to get away and relax and kind of get back to real life. And that's what we would like to do there.
Okay, thank you. Members, any discussion or questions that you have of the applicants?
Mr. Chair, Jason Wiener, a question maybe for the staff. So when we approve these permits and somebody else buys an adjacent parcel, do you know, is there any real estate disclosure form about this kind of potential use on a neighboring parcel? So would anybody know this is a vacation home rental site when they come and buy the site?
Mr. Chair, Commission Wienerman, I don't believe that that's any type of a disclosure, but I can't say with 100% certainty. The permit is recorded, but I don't know that they would see that if they're not searching for what's on the neighboring property's title.
Okay, thank you.
Other members?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for staff. Jennifer, the staff already made a property visit to see how things were there and make recommendations. Once we grant the permit, is there going to be any follow-up visits at all by staff?
Yes, so John Tracy did go out there in October, and if this permit is granted, before he actually issues the lodging license, he goes back out and makes sure every item on that checklist is completed before he issues the license. And then there's an annual review. Every year, those licensing staff go out and do an annual inspection.
Okay, and that is with all of our vacation rentals, we have that site visit?
Yeah, that's correct.
Members?
Could I?
Mr. Chair, this is, oh, go ahead.
This is Robin.
No, just hang on, Robin. We're having commission members talk right now. We'll get back to you. That's okay. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I was going to actually comment on the townships recommendations, and I think a lot of these are pretty reasonable. I think the week at a time is a tough one. That I don't know that we would do anything like that, but kind of curious from both the applicants and the other members if they would be open to the 5-year. Actually, I don't know if the sign is needed in today's day and age either. So maybe number 4 and number 2 would be out, but if everyone would be open to 1, 3, and 5, adding those as conditions, if approved.
Jennifer, could you share those again?
Yes, the suggested condition number 1 was to have quiet hours of 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. And then number 3, renters be prohibited from parking on the road, which is actually an ordinance requirement as well. And number 5, suggesting that it be a 5-year permit.
Mr. Chair,
For Commissioner Persky, with regards to the sign, is it that we have a sign ordinance prohibiting us to have a sign on the property advertising the property? Or Angie, can you answer that?
Let me just check that here.
I think I saw that signs are not permitted.
Yeah, that's correct. That's one of the performance standards for a vacation rental, that they wouldn't have an advertising sign on the premises. That would be an advertising sign is what we're, yeah.
Yeah, that we'd be concerned about. I was just wondering if actually a sign just to identify the property, let's say it was limited to like 1.5 feet by 2.5 feet, and it was able just to name the property. So you got Hench's Hutta or Hench's Paradise or Hench's Cabin, and then have a number of the owners. And for that would also allow people that have heard about the property or people that are coming up for the first time, well, there it is right there because it's identified. So it's not advertisement necessarily to be distractive or take away from the nature of the lake and the property, but it's just to identify that for convenience. And then also, should there be issues that need to be reported, it also is identified there as well. So I could see a rationale for having, again, a sign just to identify the property. Again, it's just a small one. I don't know if that rationale makes sense to any other commissioners as well and the staff.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Persky, the ordinance language says on-premise signs shall be prohibited. So it seems pretty clear that they couldn't have a sign. It's been a requirement on some permits that there be a name and number posted inside the home for the renters to have the owner's contact information. The other thing is that we could just have either encourage the property owners to share their contact information with the neighbors, or it could actually be a permit condition. It wouldn't have to be a sign on the property, but a requirement that they share that.
This is Jeff Bertram. I've brought this up on other ones that we've done. Again, I think it's just, if there's an issue, we don't necessarily want to encourage people to right away. The first thing they do is call the sheriff's office. I've always thought it would make sense to have a phone number posted that they could call, a neighbor or someone could call if there was an issue before they go straight to the sheriff's department. But so I think there's some merit in looking at some signage. I think I understand why the signs are prohibited, because we don't want like a 4x8 advertising sign for the property. This would be more of an information property, because if someone's got a complaint outside of the home, they're not going to know what the numbers are on the inside. And then the first thing we're kind of encouraging people to do is call the sheriff's department. Well, sometimes that could be taken care of with a phone call to the owners. So I'd be in favor. I don't know that we're going to do that on this one or anyone tonight, but maybe at some point we should have a discussion on that when we don't have an item in front of us.
Mr. Chair, Richard Blankish here. May I read something from the 2040 comp plan in the business pillar? Under rural business policies, because it ends up being a business. Item number 1, a rural business should not alter the rural character of the neighborhood and should not create negative impacts on the public health, safety, and general welfare of the adjacent property owners. And just thinking of the letters that were read into the public statement, looking at that, I don't know if this actually fits. That's just an item that I found and brought forward.
Thank you, Rich. Other questions or comments from members?
This is Ken Mossman.
Mr. Chair, Jennifer and Angie, is this the first request we've had on an environmental lake?
She's checking.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Persky, I think we would have to double check on that. Jennifer might be able to find it based on our vacation home rental list. It might be one of the few or the first. We could certainly try to dig that out here in the next little bit, or you would have the option to continue that for more information.
Okay, it's just that, again, as far as the nature of the neighborhood, obviously those folks on that Oak Circle do have a very unique neighborhood there, and that's why we do have the concerns from the township. So I think it's important that we look at that issue of neighborhood.
Ken?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I was adding the other day, since I've been on the board, approved 20 homes, and the same every time, and standard new to the people as far as this being a different lake that they use. Potential renters ahead of time that this is a lake where you can't, you get told how you can use or not use this lake, and everything is established. And I think in one of the last meetings I asked if there have been any complaints through all the years. And I think a few months ago they came up that there was one complaint. What would be interesting to find out is, after a few years, do the neighbors still think as badly of it as they did when it came up? Or is it working out? And I agree, the number of years these people asked for, 30 years, they asked for 30 years on their previous request, and we turned it down to 20. This should be 5 or 10 years would be enough to start it. Then people would know what's going on and things. But we hear the same complaints. When we get to the next one, we're going to hear the same complaints all over again. Every time we go to a new lake, we hear the same complaints until people see that it isn't all bad. Everybody that comes there is not a terrible person. We have good people looking for a place to go for a week or a weekend that can't afford to buy their own house. So I guess that's my point.
Thank you, Ken.
Mr. Chair, Jennifer here. I did look at the list of permits, we've had 2 interim use permits on natural environment lakes. One was on school section in Main Prairie, and one was on a small natural environment lake in Crane Township.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I was just going to share, I echo Ken's comments. The applications that I've been a part of thus far, we hear a lot of the same thing. It's always nice to get feedback from neighbors and property owners, but they are a lot of the same concerns over and over, and they haven't merited out based on complaints. So based on track record and history, I feel pretty confident that these fit over time in areas. So I echo Ken's comment.
Jason Wienerman?
I'll just reiterate what Commissioner Crone said. Nothing to add.
Okay. Anything else members want to say at this point? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up with the hinges, and then we'll do the findings of facts. Anything else members want to share? Okay. Hinges, if you want to close your comments.
Yeah, I guess Robin Henches. I'm sorry, Robin Henches. One of the things I know if they haven't experienced it, I can see where there would be some objection or some fear of what it could bring. But really, quite honestly, our neighborhood here, it has not changed the makeup. We've had a nice, tight neighborhood here too. And people really are just looking for a place to come, visit with their family and play games. They don't want to interact with the neighbors. I mean, they're not going to want to interact with the neighbors. And just like the neighbors aren't going to want to interact with them. But I don't think it would have a negative impact. I really don't. And we don't want to set that neighborhood up for that either. We would like to retire there in 3 or 4 or 5 years. So we would like these relationships to be good. We want 5-star reviews, and we'll keep doing a good job. We'll stay as super host with Airbnb and premier partner with VRBO, and we'll try to do a really good job.
Yeah, and concerns, again, I'll just say we will have cameras on site. We actually have one out at the house right now. We didn't see you guys walking around out there. We will have cameras. We'll probably know something's going on before the neighbors even know. And we are within 10 minutes of the property. So we will get out. Whether or not this is approved, we will get out and get ourselves introduced to the neighbors.
Yeah.
And hopefully soothe some of the issues that they have.
The only other thing is having my number posted out there. I would feel uncomfortable with that personally. I mean, I almost feel like that might be inflammatory. And I would be happy to make sure that all of the neighbors have our number in case there was an issue, for sure that they have that inside their house and they could make that call, immediately. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. I'm not exactly sure why that would make you feel inflammatory, but I guess if you give it to the neighbors, we've never gotten this many letters on a vacation home rental that I'm aware of. So, I mean, obviously something's going on here that we typically haven't seen. So I've been on different planning commissions for a long time, and I've always told applicants, first thing you need to do is run around and talk to everybody before they get the letter in the mail. So I appreciate the fact that you recognize that was a big mistake, COVID or no COVID. However, again, our job is to listen to the public and listen to the people and prevent problems. And so I don't necessarily have a problem with your track record or what you're trying to do. I do have a problem with this many people being excited about it before you even do it. So I'm not sure what that entails, but we're going to go to the findings. Why don't we resolve 2 things before we go to the findings? The number of years. Again, just in case we do approve it, let's address that. I think 30 is not going to work. The township input is very important to us, so I wouldn't do anything more than 5 personally, but what's the feeling of the members?
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. I'd go back to what Commissioner Mossman said. We did 20 years on a previous one. So I'd recommend 20 on this one as well.
And that makes sense. I don't think we had, what did we have? 9 letters? Again, we kind of, some of this does vary a little bit based on the realities of what's around it. So I just because we didn't have any letters on that one that I'm aware of. So I'd feel uncomfortable with 20 years, but.
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, I like Commissioner Jason Wienerman's thought process here from a consistency standpoint, but to your point, I think this one's a little different. I would go with the township's recommendation, in this case of 5, and we can always take another look at it after 5 years. My thought, based again on history, is that it's probably going to go really well for the next 5 years, and it'll just be another round then.
Other members?
Commissioner Persky, I like 5. I would prefer 3, but I support the township having local control of that. I see, especially it being a environmental lake, also a very tight neighborhood. Also, the Henches have mentioned that they're going to use this for their retirement home in 3 to 5 years. Unless they plan to retire in 30 years from now, I guess it might be a little bit of a stretch to grant it for 30 years. But I do have a question, Angie, for staff before we set that, is if the property is sold, does that agreement go with the property, or does it do you have to apply for a new rental agreement or a new IUP?
Mr. Chair, Angie Berg, so it would be, the permit does go with the property. It is recorded with the property. There are provisions in statute that allow for the Planning Commission, the County Board to revisit interim use permits at the sale. We currently don't have a mechanism for that, nor have we done that, but that is or could be an option in this case if you wanted to put well, again, it's an interim use, so you could go with a year and or an event. So you could, not to suggest things, but if you went with 5 years or the sale of the property, whichever comes first, something like that, I think would be the best way to handle it, if that's kind of the direction you were going.
Yeah, and maybe we should address that in the future if we wanted to continue with the property, or we would like to see it end with the exchange of the property. I don't know. We should maybe have that discussion, but maybe not tonight. Anyway, I support 3 to 5 years. Let's hear from other chair or committee members.
Mr. Chair, Sean Blackburn, I'm good with the 5 years on that. I like the fact that we got that from the town itself as a requested recommendation.
Rich?
Well, I read the statement out of the comprehensive plan. This does not fit the neighborhood.
Right, and I appreciate that, but just hypothetically, if this were to get approved, what's your feelings on the length?
I'll go along with the township.
Okay.
5 years.
Mike?
I go along with the township, 5 years.
Okay. I think everybody weighed in on that. It sounds like the consensus was the 5 years. So again, we're just doing this before we do the findings, so we kind of take that item off.
Mr. Chair, Jason Kuhn again,
yes.
And then the hours of operation, I would like to put into those conditions as well, if everyone's all right with that.
Right, let's start. I was going to do the number of years first, so that would be, nope, that's okay. So 5 years would be then December 31st, 26. Is that right?
Yeah, technically, if it's approved in January, it'd be 2021. So then 5 years would be December 31st, 2026. They're almost getting 6 years, but yeah.
Mr. Chair, you're on mute.
You didn't want to hear me do the math, the string of math. So I turned myself off. It would be really 25, would be the 5 years. All of 21, all of 22, all of 23, all of 24, all of 25. So it'd actually be 12/31/25 if we went with the 5 years. And then, so again, we can talk about it again when we do the findings, but that's the consensus that I'm hearing. And then Jason brought up the operation hours that the township suggested. Anybody have a problem with that?
So,
and that was 8 a.m. until 10 p.m.?
Or actually 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. It'll be quiet.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, right. You don't want the whole day. I'm having trouble, guys, tonight. Sorry. You wouldn't want to be quiet all day long, so got it.
Jason Wienerman here. A question on quiet hours. Does the county have a standard for what we mean by quiet hours? I know when we've looked at mines and other kinds of permits in other zones, there's a noise ordinance. Are we using the same standard here, or is there another quiet hour concept? I want to give some certainty to what we mean by quiet hours.
Mr. Chair, Member Wienerman, Angie Berg, and to answer your question, the county does have a public nuisance ordinance. Some townships, I don't know if Avon has their own or not, that can be more restrictive. So quiet hours in terms of violating the public nuisance ordinance would be an interesting way to look at it. I think that what I can tell you is the nuisance ordinance doesn't specifically talk about quiet hours. It would be a nuisance affecting public health and safety. So the answer is it's not clear cut in the nuisance ordinance what quiet hours would be. I think that you would be setting quiet hours as what it means to this permit, and if there were multiple noise or party or music complaints, that would violate the quiet hours condition, not necessarily violate the nuisance ordinance.
I think typically the definition of that would probably be if the neighbors are bothered in one way or another by a loud stereo or a bunch of people, not some standard, probably a deputy is going to get called. He's going to do a visit. It's not going to be one of those readers. It's going to be just common sense of saying the neighbors are complaining by the music or by the, party or gathering or whatever. That's probably going to be the standard. And one house might be 3 times as loud and not bother anybody, or the neighbors will all be there. Another house, any kind of noise will cause a problem. And that's part of the shaking of the dice, I guess, where you start locating these.
I guess, the concern I have is, as we've spoken about, we've had 9 letters about expressing concern on this. And as Commissioner Mossman said, and Mr. Crone said, we've approved a bunch of these and haven't heard of any complaints yet. But the concern I have, that may be completely unfounded, is that one of the neighbors can use our implementation of a quiet hour standard as a workaround to file numerous complaints against a property for folks who might be speaking a little too loud at 10:30 at night, or maybe playing their stereo on the deck. So without a quantifiable quiet hour standard, we may be opening the property owners up to no activity between the hours of 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. That's just to feed into what the letters are saying. If they're worried about potentials, I'm worried that we're opening the door for unreasonable complaints.
And I appreciate that. It's a concern. We're not feeding, I don't think, into anything we didn't create the letters and we didn't create the Avon Township Board's action. We've never had a township weigh in like this. So again, I'm not sure why, but we're just reacting to this. So I would say you're right. The standard on this one's going to be a lot higher than it has been on any of the other ones that we've approved. That's not of our doing. It's our job to prevent issues. And unfortunately, there's already issues on this one before it's even permanent. So, and we didn't do that. We're just trying to balance it to make it the best we can. So it's a good point that you bring up. But I think as with the other ones, I don't think it's not going to be a black or white answer. It's going to be it's probably going to be a stiffer standard on this one than it will be on the other ones that we've approved. Sean?
Well, I was going to add that I agree with Jason's assessment there, and that oftentimes we need to just allow some of these things to take care of themselves, and we've been doing that with local ordinances and local PD and et cetera all along. It's one of these things that it's like, well, why throw more ammunition or more obstacles into it? I think people, when you come right down to it, tend to be more reasonable, and if they can communicate, and if somebody calls a policeman and he comes out and says, geez, that's really not, why are you complaining about that? Maybe that could be the outcome as well. But if we add more rules, we just kind of complicate the issue. I mean, I appreciate the fact that the township weighed in. I'm glad they did, and maybe this is a new thing here, but maybe this isn't such a good idea with these quiet hours.
Mr. Chair, this is Jason Crone. Good points by Sean and Jason. So maybe it's more a recommendation to the applicants that they put that, if approved, into some of their language to remind people, and we don't make it a condition. I'm okay with that too.
Other members, we didn't hear from everybody. Any other thoughts on that? Leave it alone or include it? Not hearing nothing, so I'd say right now the consensus is not to include it. Okay, and then the inspection notes, the window sizes and all that, do we include that at all in any way in the conditions, or?
Mr. Chair, I don't think that's necessary. That will get addressed by the inspector before they issue the license.
So it'll happen one way or the other, okay?
Yes, that's correct, yep.
Okay, well, let's try to do the findings here then. One, is the proposal consistent with the existing county ordinances, specify applicable sections of the ordinance, and discuss why or why not?
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. I believe it is consistent. Land use and zoning ordinance number 439, sections 4.18, 6.60, and 9.6B, with vacation homes being allowed in the R1 zoning district.
Two, are there any other standards, rules, requirements that the proposal must meet?
Mr. Chair, I believe now we have 8 proposed conditions. This is Jason Crone.
Jennifer, is that accurate?
There would be 7 proposed conditions unless quiet hours are added. That would be number 8.
Okay, and I think there was a consensus not to do the quiet hours, so it would be seven conditions then.
Yeah, we changed the one condition.
3, is the proposed use compatible with the present and future land uses in the area? How can be separated by distance or screening from adjacent land uses? Why or why not? How will any scenic views be impacted by the proposed use?
Mr. Chair, Sean Blackburn here. The proposed use is going to have no impact really on the property. They're not doing any construction. They're not adding anything like the signage we talked about isn't happening. So there's really very little change.
4, are there environmental concerns, groundwater, surface water, air quality, wellhead protection areas, that should be addressed as part of the proposed request?
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. The majority of them will be covered by the conditions, and also the lodging license, I think it is, will cover any other concerns.
Mr. Chair, I think it would be worth noting that it's on an environmental lake. I don't know if there are any necessary restrictions on that. For example, no boats that make no wake boats. I don't know if there are any other restrictions or not, specifically to that lake.
Jennifer?
Mr. Chair, the county does not have any restrictions. The county does not have a surface water ordinance for the lake. And the DNR also doesn't have different regulations for boats and watercraft on a natural environment lake.
5, I think maybe other issues pertinent to the matter, that might be the place to put the comment that it is on an environmental lake. Maybe, Joe, that would be the place to put that.
I'm fine with that. And also, just you may want to note the strong opposition from the neighbors. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen anything where you have all of the neighbors in opposition to one place.
And that might be appropriate, again, in other issues pertinent, that there was opposition, a larger opposition by neighbors and a concerns by the township. We probably can recognize that for number 11. Number 5, has information been provided regarding the impact property values in the area as a result of the proposal?
Mr. Chair, one of the letters cited the Economic Policy Institute, but we have nothing referencing this site directly.
6, what potential public health, safety, and traffic generation impacts will the proposal have in relation to the area and the capability of roads serving the area and how they are being addressed?
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, I think there's concerns about traffic generation by residents. I guess history would suggest that probably is not an issue, however.
If members have something different to say, remember you need to chime in. 7, how does the proposal affect the general health, safety, welfare of the residents?
Mr. Chair, Sean Blackburn, it would be a very minimal effect.
8, does the proposed conform?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair,
Rich,
in regards to that item, the neighbors that own homes in that area are going to be dealing with more stress. So it does have impact on their health. So just bringing that forward for a public statement.
Okay. Does the proposal conform to the goals and objectives of the county's comprehensive plan? Specify which goals and objectives apply.
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. I believe they do under the business goals and objectives. First one is under the business goals number 3, acknowledging tourism's economic value. And then also changing economic policies, which is support innovative business models and new markets that enhance the county's economy. Number 4.
And Rich raised the one before. You want to restate that, Rich, or do you have that, Jennifer?
Okay, Jeff, I'm back on here. Rural business policies, number 1. A rural business should not alter the character of the neighborhood and should not create negative impacts on the public health, safety, and general welfare of the adjacent property owners.
Okay. 9, how does the proposal affect existing public services and facilities, including schools, parks, streets, and utilities?
Mr. Chair, it should have minimal on the majority of those, and an interesting potential is it might actually have less students at the local schools because there aren't permanent residents here who would bring students to the schools.
10, has the applicant provided financial assurance, guarantee, reclamation, or cleanup? Not applicable. 11, other issues pertinent to the matter. I believe we have 2 then. Jennifer, is that accurate?
Correct, Mr. Chair. I have 2, being that the property is located on a natural environment lake, and also the fact that opposition was raised by the neighborhood and concerns raised by the township.
Mr. Chair, if I can add on to the second one, I believe we actually have seen this kind of opposition for some of the other rental sites. I remember when we actually met in person last year, we had occasionally filled the room with people expressing concern about a vacation rental. So we have seen similar kinds of protest letters on other sites like this. So this is not a unique situation.
Okay, I disagree. It's maybe been one of all 22 or whatever that we've had. So that at Jason's point, but I don't think we've seen this level, maybe one other one. Then I don't remember that one, but I have not seen this many letters and had the township weigh in to my knowledge. So we can have both findings as part of this. I disagree that this is common. It's very uncommon. With that, motion would be in order to approve or deny.
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. I move we recommend approval to the county commissioners at our next meeting to approve this conditional use permit.
Second, is there?
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, I'll second that one.
Okay, there's been a motion by Jason Wienerman, second by Jason Crone to recommend approval by the county board. Their meeting is January 5th of 2021. Any discussion on that? If not, when I call your name, if you're for recommendation, say aye. If you're opposed, say nay. Jason Wienerman.
Aye.
Sean Blackburn.
Aye.
Jason Crone.
Aye.
Ken Mossman.
Aye.
Mike Perrell.
Aye.
Rich Blankish.
Nay.
And the chair votes no. Recommended approval 5-2 to the county board again at their January 5th board meeting. Item number 2 is the consider the interim use permit for an application submitted by David and Lori
Ossie.
Jennifer, do you want to do the staff report?
Yes, this is another request for a vacation home rental in the A40 zoning district. This property is it's located at 20366 Elkview Road, Richmond. So we're in Munson Township for this one on the Horseshoe Chain of Lakes. So again, the property is actually zoned A40. It's a very small lot size, so it's considered as though it's zoned R1. This property the road that it's on is Elkview Road, but if you were out there to visit it, you saw that the access is actually a shared driveway easement off of Elkview Road. So this is a pre-existing home. Again, like the last one, there isn't any proposed construction at this time. The area that we're located in is surrounded by, we've got Lakeshore Residential to the north and south, and then across Elkview Road to the west is agricultural land. There are over 80 residential dwellings within a half mile and 2 animal feedlots within a half mile. So for this one, we did get the water test results, and that's acceptable, passing water test. The septic system was inspected in 2018, and that is compliant. This is a 2-bedroom home, and so they would be allowed to have up to 6 persons for occupancy. As to parking, they're required to have 2 parking spots, which they do have adequate parking space off-street. They are not renting a recreational vehicle. There's no screening or fencing proposed. Again, no signage is allowed. The same requirements apply as the last one, where they have to record and monitor their septic system and also track the information of the folks renting and make that available to the department upon request. With this one, we would also suggest the same conditions as the last permit, where we have an expiration date. On this one, they're requesting a 20-year permit. The maximum occupancy shall be 6 people. A lodging license is required before renting out the home. They have to install a flow measurement device before the lodging license is issued. They have to take flow measurement readings and monitor the septic system. They have to keep the report of those using the home, and also the requirement for the ring buoy to be attached near the shore as life-saving equipment. Jane Knott with our licensing staff was out there in October, and then I did a site visit in December. So that's the summary of this request, and I do have a few letters on this one as well.
Okay, we'll wait until we're done doing the sharing with the folks that we've got with us. Members who visited the site, if you were at the site, say aye when I call your name. Jason Meterman?
Aye, and I think I did run into one of the property owners, or a property owner on the site, and ask who it was. So I did engage with one of the neighbors.
Okay. Thankfully, when you said you ran into him, I thought with the car. So thankfully it was verbally and not with the car. Sean Blackburn?
Yes.
Jason Crone?
Yes.
It's not too early to laugh yet, is it, guys? I don't think so. Ken Mossman?
Yes.
Mike Perrell?
Yes.
Rich Blankish?
Yes.
Joe Persky?
Yes.
And the chair was there as well. The applicant introductions. I understand David Ossie is with us with WebEx video connection, and Ellen Winchell is going to be by audio only. So if you're with us, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, David Ossie here. My address is 6304 Peacedale Avenue in Edina, Minnesota.
Hi there, this is Ellen Winchell, and I'm at 5340 14th Avenue South, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to add at this point to the staff report?
Not at this time. I think both Ellen and I did write a letter, so I don't want to reiterate anything that I've already said in there, but I'm happy to answer any questions and respond to some of the letters and concerns. I think the main point that I want to make is we bought this as a family cabin, and we are under, similar to Jim and Robin, we hope to use this as a family cabin for probably 80% of the time, but our understanding is if we want to rent this out at all, we had to go through this rental ordinance to do that. And we're trying to follow, the rules and regulations and be good neighbors and stewards of the property. So.
Okay. Item discussion by members. Members, do you have any questions or comments before we go to the letters? Not. We'll open up. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I should have just stayed quiet. I said none here.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. We'll open the public hearing then. Anybody with us live other than the applicants via WebEx or audio that wants to say something? Is there anyone with us on item number 2, either WebEx or audio, that wants to share something? Hearing none, then let's have the letters, Jennifer.
Okay, so the first letter is from John and Peg Beckius. They are writing to share their concerns regarding their new neighbor at 20366 Elkview Road. They're aware of it, that vacation rentals are becoming more and more an accepted practice with some cabins. They don't feel it's conducive for this surrounding community. Typical vacation rentals generally have direct access and dedicated parking for their cabins. However, this cabin is located along a shared community access road. We collectively finance and any maintenance to the gravel road, so our concern is with additional vacationers creating more wear and tear on the road. Their other concerns is that would be associated if neighboring to a hotel on a lake. People who are coming up for a week-long vacation are certainly entitled and expected to unwind. However, while late nights or fun with boats or other water vehicles may be part of their unwinding expectation, our community takes into account the consideration for those who live here year-round. Our fear is there will be vacationers who don't share the consideration. They may feel that they don't live here, my week is up. We look to welcome any new neighbors within our cabin community as it's ever evolving. However, we're not welcoming to an owner who's not looking to be present with regards to those who will be occupying this cabin. John and Peg Beckius. An email from Russ Howe stating apparently the couple bought this property with the intent of renting it out. There's very limited access in and out of the property for the people who own houses there, let alone rental people. The road is very narrow and only accept one-way traffic at a time for people that are familiar with the road. And we got a letter from Craig Beekler to address concerns with the property become a rental unit. For over 2 years, I looked for property on the chain of lakes to call home, and I found this community at Elkview Road, Crohn's Bay, and Horseshoe Lake. From the day I moved in, I sought to meet my neighbors. They proudly boasted how quiet and secluded this little community is. We were not looking to have a rental property in the neighborhood. In November, I was informed that it had been sold and 3 families purchased it as a family cabin. But then in December, I received a letter from the county stating it was going to be a rental. Imagine the things that run through your mind. Have they considered the situations or problems that will more than likely be imposed on the existing owners and their community that was once quiet, secluded, and safe? The first concern is that the address Elkview Road is rather misleading. We have a private road which 15 property owners share a common entrance to, could even be considered a shared driveway in all reality, and is maintained solely by the property owners themselves with no funding from the state or the county. The road is 11 feet wide at the center of this property, making it no more than a single lane at best. The second concern is the quiet hours. I don't see any proposed quiet hours listed on the application for the renters. The third concern is who monitors the property to ensure it's only 6 people. The fourth concern is who the property owners contact if they're having a problem with renters, and how long will it take for a resolution to be made. Last concern is the safety of the community. The uncertainty or unease of never knowing who's coming and going in the home right next to yours is something I never thought I'd have to consider when finding a lake home to enjoy. Did they put the fire out before they left? Did they take their trash with them? Residents who live and own lake homes are typically proud of where they live and take care of the environment they live in, albeit the lake or the upkeep of their property. We are proud of where we live, the security and secludedness of it, including the wildlife we welcome. I welcome the new property owners with open arms, and I look forward to sharing time together, but want to have my concerns documented while trying not to offend. I'd ask for this rental opportunity, if approved, that the rental opportunity be dissolved upon sale of the property as not to be passed on to new owners. Respectfully, Craig Beekler. We got a note from Everett and Myrna Engbritson that they felt they should receive a written copy of the renter's agreement regarding this proposal. That's what their comment stated. And then I did share with the Planning Commission a letter that we had received from the applicants, David and Lauren Ozzie, and Ellen Winchittle, who is also on the phone. So their letters were sent to you. I don't know if you had a chance to read them or if you'd like me to summarize them. And they also included their draft of their Norden House house rules, the rules that they would be sharing with all of their guests.
Jennifer, why don't you just review them both? We have received them, read them, but just like the other public letters, let's just review them.
Yep. So the first one from David and Lauren Ossie. I'm writing to provide some background and address some recent conversations and concerns I received from a few of the neighbors. My wife and I, along with her two sisters and their spouses, recently purchased this to use as their family cabin. We have extended family in Cold Spring, which is a 12-minute drive from the cabin. We thought it would be a great location since we're up in Cold Spring for every major holiday already. The main reason for the application is to provide the option, should we want to rent out our cabin when we aren't using it, to help offset the cost of cabin ownership. I've spoken with the following neighbors via phone call. Mr. Beekler, Mr. and Mrs. Beckius informed me they're sending letters to express their concerns, and they also spoke with Rodney Zimmer. They also exchanged emails with the Engbritsons. I understand the concerns of our neighbors and want to assure them and the board that we take their concerns seriously. I want to address a few specific concerns below. Road usage. Elkview Road is a private road. We understand there is a private maintenance fund and we've agreed to contribute annually to. As far as snow removal, we're willing to share in the cost of snow removal in order to clear the road down to the properties that are used year-round. Parking, we have at least 4 off-street parking stalls, possibly 5 with a compact vehicle. Quiet hours, we have included our house rule list that we will be enforcing. Trash removal, they have contracted with West Central Sanitation for garbage and recycling. Contact information, that will be shared with the neighbors as well as posted inside the cabin should any issues arise. We have numerous family members minutes from the property and can check the property should any immediate emergency require their presence. While we understand the concerns of our neighbors, we'd like the opportunity to use our property for our enjoyment and to share it with others. We believe we will be able to accomplish both while still being good stewards of the property and neighbors in this wonderful community. Thank you for your consideration of the application. David and Lauren Ossie. And then the other one was from Ellen Winchittle. I'm one of the investors in the cabin. I have invested in the property alongside my 2 sisters, as well as each of our husbands. I would like to start by thanking you for hosting this forum to discuss our rental plans. First and foremost, this was purchased to serve as our family cabin. We've dreamt of a family cabin for many years, so we're thrilled to be starting this journey in what has been otherwise challenging year. One of our favorite aspects that sold us on the property is the proximity to our family in nearby Cold Spring. We grew up visiting Cold Spring to see grandparents, aunts, and uncles, and it has become a second home for us. We're very happy to have a place so close to the town we love. We're also very lucky to have such a great network of support close to this property who are available to drop by for small errands when necessary or simply to provide us with an excuse to go to the cabin on a regular basis. During times when our family is not at the cabin, we hope to have the option to rent it out to others. Our goal is to use the rental income to help offset some of our operating costs. We understand the concerns that have been voiced by our neighbors and take them seriously. We are a close family who's pouring a lot of time, energy, and love into this cabin. We want to ensure anyone using it will treat it with respect that we would ourselves. And then addressing some of the specific concerns, they're lucky enough to have a significant amount of designated parking spaces, a pad that fits 2 cars, as well as additional parking for 2 more cars on the opposite side of the house. Given the limited number of guests the cabin can accommodate, this should be more than enough. The road is a concern, and we want to respect that as well. However, any rental guest traffic should be no different than any other ordinary residents in the neighborhood, or different from the traffic that will result from us staying at the property ourselves. Other concerns raised are general caution over rental guest behavior. We intend to be very careful about how we welcome to our home, and of course we'll emphasize the importance of our house rules, including the respect of our neighbors. Beyond that, we will outline clear guidelines of quiet hours, garbage disposal, fire precautions, etc. Upon emergency, we have a large network of relatives in the area. Each of us lives within an hour-and-a-half drive. Our top priority is the safety and well-being of our family, neighbors, and our guests. We're excited to be part of Crohn's Bay and get to know the community. We're open to feedback from those living around us, and we'll be happy to consider any additional guidelines they feel would make a positive impact towards the neighbors. Thank you for your time and consideration. We appreciate the thought that's gone into this decision and look forward to our future on Elkview Road. And then the other thing that was included was the house rules, like I mentioned, and this is what they would share with their folks who are, with their guests who are booking. Do you want me to summarize those?
We don't need to do that because they're house rules. We've seen them. So,
perfect.
The Mr. Butchler, if I'm saying that right, had a couple of questions in there just for the record. The private road issue, he asked, basically, they've said that they would participate with the road maintenance and the snow plowing. So he's raising that as an issue. Second, quiet hours, that's identified in the house rules. So it's not a condition, but it's addressed in the house rules. Third, who monitors occupants of the property? Can you answer that, Jennifer?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there's a couple of things. One way that it's monitored is by the neighbors themselves. So if any neighbors feel that there's been any violations, they're welcome to call the County Environmental Services Office. Another way that it's monitored is with the annual lodging license. When that inspection is done, that staff does monitor the bedroom situation and just to make sure there's not sleeping facilities in other rooms that aren't permitted to be used as bedrooms. And then the other thing that we have done is just monitor the Airbnb postings and the VRBO postings, because those postings do indicate how many people can occupy it or how many renters are allowed. So that's another way that we monitor it.
Thank you. And then fourth, who do existing property owners contact if they're having a problem? I'd recommend the applicants give the neighbors their phone number to contact them. And of course, if that doesn't work, environmental services, or in a more urgent matter, the sheriff's department. Did they put on, or they left? Yeah, that's more of a general comment, I guess. So, and then the Engelbretsons, can you share with them? Can you send them a copy of the renter's agreement or the house rules?
Yes, I definitely will do that. And I know that David has also exchanged emails with them, so I believe he has shared it with them as well.
I did.
Okay, and if he did, then you don't have to. If they've gotten that, they've requested that. So I think that's all I see in the letters. Is there anyone with us, WebEx or audio, that wants to share something with us at this point? Is anybody with us? If not, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, Jason Cronin, motion to close public hearing.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, this is Richard Blankish. Y'all second that.
Jason Crow moves to close the public hearing. Rich Blankish seconds. If you're in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye when I call your name. Jason Wienerman.
Aye.
Sean Blackburn.
Aye.
Jason Crone.
Aye.
Ken Mossman.
Aye.
Mike Perrell.
Aye.
Rich Blankish.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Public hearing is closed. Discussion by members. Any comments?
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. I'll just share a little bit of the story. When I went out there, I wasn't sure where the parcel was exactly. So I took a wrong turn when I went down the access road, had to turn around in someone's driveway. Driving the other way down the road, I drove past the parcel. So I had to turn around in somebody else's driveway. And then on the way out, I encountered a car coming down the main road, which caused a bit of stress for both of us, not sure exactly what we do. Fortunately, the other driver backed up and let me out. So that's the concern I have, is that this site, unlike many of the other sites we've been on, doesn't have a specific public access. As people have indicated, it is a private shared driveway that would hardly be classified as a regular road. So I do share many of the concerns of the folks who commented that the access to this parcel is difficult if you don't live there. So that's one of the concerns I have with this particular application.
Okay. Members, other comments?
Mr. Chair, Rich Blankish. The other thing, the first impact of driving down a narrow road to access down, and I was thinking, what if you're pulling a fishing boat behind you? And where do you drop that boat off? Is there a public access close by? And then if you come back to the property, where do you store the trailer? Let's say you have 3 vehicles there. Has there been a designated area for trailer storage? Or is a trailer considered a vehicle?
Let's keep these questions, let's remember these questions, and the applicants can answer them when the members are done raising some of the concerns that they're raising. Other questions or concerns by members?
Mr. Chair, it was stated that this is a family purchase and there's going to be 3 owners. Is David, I think there should be 1 owner as far as the contact. Was that going to be David? So that's clear?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Other members? Okay, if the applicants want to share some thoughts based on the letters and comments by Planning Commission members, now would be the time.
Yeah, sure. Good evening, Chairman Bertram and members of the Commission. I appreciate your time in doing this. Just to address, the access that Commissioner Wienerman stated, I think we did the same thing when we were unfamiliar with the property. Drove by, there are address plates, but it's difficult to see if you're not familiar. We were open to suggestions. I know Craig, when I spoke to Craig the other night, he had actually indicated concern of ice fishermen coming out and parking along the road, which obviously that wouldn't, be part of this application, but just people that don't live there that are coming down and parking. And he thought, could we put up a private road sign or something like that? Then we could, indicate on our, VRBO or Airbnb listing that it's by the private road sign, or, that's the driveway, to make that a little bit more clear. As far as the trailer storage, we've actually brought a trailer up there and parked it along the south side of the property. There is plenty of room we have an enclosed trailer and parked it there, but a boat trailer would be fine to park, and there's ample room to do that. So I guess that kind of takes care of those 2 items. I do just want to reiterate, we're trying to be good neighbors. Everyone has been very easy to talk to, and I know Craig recently purchased his property at a similar time that we did. We've spoken to a lot of these people in person, but we want a good relationship with everyone. We're going to be up there a lot, and we don't want it to be awkward. So we're trying to do the best we can to make sure that we're staying on top of things, and we want to be good stewards of the property. So.
Okay. Ellen, you want to share anything?
I think David pretty much covered it. I will maybe just add on that I think that our property is, lucky in the area that along that road, I would say that we have some of the largest amount of parking space. And so even if there were an issue where somebody needed to turn around, I think there is ample space for that. As David mentioned, they've driven a trailer up a number of times and have had space to park that as well. And then with regards to Commissioner Wienerman's remarks about maybe not being able to recognize the plot of land. I understand that the road is is a little bit of a windy road, and it's there are a lot of properties back kind of tucked within the bay. I know that on our first trip, we were a little bit confused upon entering, but immediately upon seeing the A-frame, it was really recognizable, especially after we had been kind of oogling over photos of the property. And so hopefully at a rental type situation, people would be very familiar with the appearance of the outside of the house, and it's a kind of unique structure that is unlike the neighbors. So I think that would help people spot it a little easier, but more than happy to, outline parking areas or, signify the property in ways that would be helpful. Thank you.
The only other items I wanted to mention, just in regards to the road and contact information, there is a shared spreadsheet which the previous owner actually gave us when we were under contract with this property that has everyone's name, phone number, email. So we've requested to be on that as well. That's a shared document with all the neighbors, and we want to be the contact person should something arise, if there's any issues whatsoever, and that's actually how I think a lot of people got my phone number. The other thing is on the road maintenance. There's an annual road maintenance fund, and I understand that everyone kind of kicks in $100 to $200 a year, and then there's I think a neighbor that does a lot of the work themselves in order to maintain that road. But we're more than happy to put in for that, and then also the snow removal if we're using the road or our guests are. I've talked to Craig, and Craig is one of the only year-round residents there. I think he said he's willing to do the snow removal, and I said I'd be happy to to split that cost with him. So
if there was an issue, who would respond to it if someone needed to respond to it physically? When we put our application in, my wife has a cousin that's nearby that would probably be the local contact. And he lives, I believe, in St. Cloud, that would respond. And just for everybody's purposes, when you say probably, would he be, do you think? Yes. He has said that he would be the local contact. Because sometimes, obviously someone's going to potentially need to be on site immediately or, within a short period of time. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just had a question as he was addressing the access and about the snow removal. So the snow will be cleared throughout the year. There will be no period. It's after snow falls, the snow will be cleared?
That is correct. Craig Beckler, who lives right next door, I don't have the address, he is a full-time resident there, and so he does need access down to his property, which is just north of ours.
And then you were going to plan to have this year-round rental available, is that correct? You're not going to shut it down at the winter, or what were you thinking?
So since we just purchased it the end of October, we are trying it out this year with just our family being up there in the winter. We're finding out that it's very expensive and propane isn't cheap. So we'll kind of see how it goes. If it becomes too expensive, we might just keep it as a seasonal cabin in the future.
And then, of course, that being a private road and then this being a rental, Angie or Jennifer, I don't know if you know or somebody else here, do we have any issues with emergency vehicles? Do you know if the clearance on those, as far as it being wide enough, or any other clearance issues that might be a concern for emergency vehicles?
I would guess that you don't know. They don't know. They're shaking no. It's a good point, but I don't think they'd have any way of knowing that, Joe. Certainly, we all drove down the road. Would hope that you never need a big fire truck to come down there, or even an ambulance. for the people that are there year round or seasonally, but it's not unique to what we've seen around lakes. And quite frankly, with the private road, I don't know if there's anything that we can do about it.
But we are allowing the public to have access to it, making it a rental.
Correct.
Yeah. It might be, maybe we put it in the notes. Other issues or concerns?
That would be appropriate to raise it as a concern, and maybe the applicants need to try to adapt to that or something. Okay. Members want to have a discussion on the length, the 20 years?
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone. I was thinking about it more this month as we had a couple of these, and if it wouldn't be something to maybe start shortening those durations. I know I look at the history of what's been approved, and a lot of them are in that 20 to 30 year range, but I'm leaning more to getting into that 10 years mark. And like the previous one, we did 5, but I think 10 might be an appropriate length on the long end. So much can change in that amount of time. But that would be a suggestion that I'd make, as possibly changing the recommended conditions from 20 to 10.
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. Question for staff on that. What's the cost of a permit application for this?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Wienerman, the application is $550 at this time for an interim use permit.
All right, thank you.
And I think another issue, we've always gone through the end of the year, so we probably wouldn't go through one of a year. If we want to be consistent, then we always end them at the end of the year. Yeah, so it would probably be then December 31st of a year. So Jason suggests 10 years. Thoughts from other members?
Mr. Chair, Sean Blackburn. Yeah, I like that 10-year mark.
Okay. Other members?
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. I'm indifferent to the number. I mean, I think 20, 10, whatever. I support the 10 if chosen. I don't want to see us going much below that, though.
So 10 years would be 12, 30, 30?
30, correct.
12, 31, 30. Rich?
I was going to say 10 years is probably a good thing for us as a commission. Looking at the history of the approval of these vacation rentals, in case we need to make changes in regards to conditions or ordinances, I think we should be looking at 10 years.
Okay. Any other thoughts? If not, sounds like there's a consensus of 10 years. So in the conditions, it would be 12, 31, 30 for the condition purposes. Any other discussion by the members or applicants? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up and go to the findings. Hearing none, we'll go to the findings of fact. Number 1, is the proposal consistent with existing county ordinances, performance standards, specify applicable sections of the ordinance, and discuss why or why not?
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone. The proposal is consistent with existing county ordinances. Land use and zoning ordinance number 439, sections 4.18, 6.60, and 9.3.6G. A vacation private home rental is allowed within the R1 zoning district.
Item number 2, are there any other standards, rules, requirements that the proposal must meet?
Mr. Chair, this is Rich. The 7 proposed conditions with the change in the date 12/31/30.
Again, members, be reminded if you have a different opinion, then please share it. Item number 3, is the proposed use compatible with the present and future land uses in the area? Can it be separated by distance or screening from adjacent land uses? Why or why not? How will scenic views be impacted by the proposed use?
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. I would say a vacation home rental is just, it's not a resort. So I think it is compatible with the existing uses.
4, are there environmental concerns, groundwater, surface water, air quality, wellhead protection that should be addressed as part of the proposed request?
Mr. Chair, Sean Blackburn, they're going to be addressed in all of the permitting processes and applications. So.
Has information been provided regarding the impact property taxes value in the area as a result of the proposal?
Mr. Chair, this is Rich Blankish. No, there has not been any information in regards to that.
Number 6, what potential public health, safety, traffic generation impacts will the proposal have in relation to the area and the capability of the road serving the area, and how are they being addressed by the proposal?
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. We've had a pretty extensive discussion on the narrow nature of the road and finding the parcel and exploring other driveways on the way to find the lot. So there is some concern about safety vehicles, about people who are unfamiliar with the area finding the site. So I believe there is some concerns about safety and traffic usage, not generation, but usage on the private access road.
How does the proposal affect general health, safety, welfare of the residents?
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, I would say minimally in this instance.
8, does the proposal conform to the goals and objectives of the county's comprehensive plan? Specify which goals and objectives apply.
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, we brought up the one in the business goals. I hear more so in this one, even in the last one. I think another one that applies is the living goals. Number 3 within the living goals is support housing options that give people in all stages of life and of all economic means viable choices for safe, stable, and affordable homes. It sounds like this is going to be primarily a family cabin, but this is just a way to help cover some of those costs. So I think that one applies.
How does the proposal affect existing public services, facilities, including schools, parks, streets, and utilities?
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I would say because this is down a private access road, it should have minimal impact on public services.
10, has the applicant provided financial assurance, guarantee, reclamation, or cleanup?
That's a non-applicable item. This is Rich.
11, other issues pertinent to the matter. Commissioner Persky had one. Somebody remind me of that.
With regards to access to emergency vehicles,
oh, yeah.
And I would just like to get a follow-up on that. Sure, they can get maybe their brush rig down there, one of the small trucks, but if they don't know, they send out the first truck, and if that gets down that access, the others can't get around it. So I would have no problem just to request visit from the fire department to see that that's accessible. Again, it's a private drive, but we're opening this up to the public. So we're telling the public that it's safe to be occupied.
And that's certainly a good suggestion for the applicants to have the fire department come out there and be aware of the property if and when something were to be needed there. So I assume they're gonna take your advice on that.
And Mr. Chair, the local department may have already done that. They may know that their vehicles are accessible to that area.
Or they may have not, so it doesn't hurt to revisit the issue. I think that's a good point. So we're done with the findings. We identified the 10 years. At this point, the motion would be in order to recommend approval or denial.
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, I'll make a motion to recommend approval with the 7 proposed conditions.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, Sean Blackburn, I'll second that motion.
Jason Crone moved. Sean Blackburn second. The recommendation to the county board for their January 5th, 2021 meeting. Any discussion on that motion? If not, when I call your name, if you're for recommending to the county board, say aye. If you're opposed, say nay. Jason Wienerman?
Nay.
Sean Blackburn?
Aye.
Jason Crone?
Aye.
Ken Mossman?
Nay.
Mike Perrell?
Aye.
Rich Blankish?
Nay.
Chair votes aye. What was the vote?
Motion carries 4-3.
4-3. I recommend to the county board. Item number 4 has been with, I'm sorry, item number 3 has been withdrawn. I suppose it wouldn't hurt just to mention, I assume they weren't able to negotiate. Or do you know why it was withdrawn?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, item number 3 was withdrawn. As they got into it more, they realized that it was going to be unaffordable for them to bring in the second home.
Got it. Okay. So then we go on to item number 4, to consider a rezoning request submitted by Minnesota East Regal, Minneapolis, and Brian and Carolyn Cash, Painesville. Jennifer, you want to do the staff report?
Yep, this is a request to rezone 10 acres from the transitional 20 district to the agricultural 40 district. This property is in section 8 of Painesville Township. It's lying north of the address of 18572 County Road 130, Painesville. All right, so this is an area that's T20. It's currently T20. The application is to go to A40, and if the rezoning is approved, the applicants plan to construct a solar garden on this property. To give you a little background, the same landowners, Brian and Carolyn Cash, have on the land just south of this. That was rezoned not that long ago, also for the intention of putting a solar garden on it. So again, like I said, this property is on County Road 130. Currently it's being used as farmland. And when you look at the surrounding area, there's 9 homes within a half mile, 3 registered feedlots. Generally, it's pretty much a farmland area. When you go east, about a mile to the east, you do see a number of solar gardens in that direction. The zoning in the area is all surrounded by T20, other than to the south, that directly adjacent property to the south is A40. As far as development options go, currently this 10 acres wouldn't be allowed to have a home, and nor would it be allowed a home if the rezoning were approved. As far as the comprehensive plan, this is in the agricultural rural district in the future land use map. We ran a LISA score for the property. Now the whole 159 acre property, the LISA was 53.98. And then we ran a LISA just on this 10 acres that they're requesting to rezone, and that was 63.25. The township recommended approval, being Painesville Township. That's all I have for now, unless you have any questions for me.
And just because this is a rezoning request, not an approval of the solar project, so just so everybody understands, let's not put the cart before the horse, I guess. Is the other project, if I remember right, was it these same owners or is it a different family member?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it was the same property owner.
Okay.
Yep, and we haven't seen a request for the CUP come in for that one yet.
Okay. And is it the same solar company?
Different company.
So there'll be two projects side by side, which seems to be the trend now.
Yep, and two different companies. Yep.
Which again, we're only acting on the rezone, and whatever the rezone is, again, just so everybody's clear, that doesn't have anything to do with the solar application, because we haven't seen those yet. So members who visited the site, you did do a site review. You may have mentioned that, Jennifer, I'm sorry.
Yes, I did not mention it, but I did do a site review. Yep.
Got it. So members, if you did a site review, say yes when I call your name. Jason Wienerman?
Yes.
Sean Blackburn?
Yes.
Jason Crone?
Yes.
Ken Mossman?
Yes.
Mike Prell?
Yes.
Rich Blankish?
Yes.
Joe Persky?
Yes.
And I was there as well. Applicant introductions, we have Ms. Larson, or Ms. O'Neill, Larson O'Neill from Minnesota East, is with us WebEx, and the Cashes are with us by WebEx as well. So if you all want to state your name and address for the record, please.
Brian Cash, 2 Cedar Place, Trimont, Minnesota.
Is Ms. Larson O'Neill with us?
Sorry, unmute. Hi, it's Cindy Larson O'Neill with Regal East. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Planning Commissioners, for allowing us to present this rezone application tonight.
Thank you. So is there anything you want to add to the staff report?
No, I don't think so. It's just pretty straightforward, the rezone with the purpose of development of a solar garden.
Okay. Discussion by members. Any questions or anything that members have at this time?
Mr. Chair, Jason Breedham here. Question for the staff. So we're moving from a transitional use to a transitional zone to an ag zone. What are the differences between land uses that can happen in those two different zones? So we're opening up to the solar farm. What are we reducing and what are we opening? Just a brief summary.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Mr. Wienerman, the biggest items that come to mind is in the ag district, there is more allowance for animal feedlots, larger numbers of animal units, and there is the allowance for things such as solar gardens, larger wind turbines, gravel mining. Those type of uses are allowed in ag and not the T20.
Is there anything in the T20 that's less restrictive?
The main one that comes to mind would be density. They'd be allowed 1 home per 20 acres in the T20 and then 1 home per 40 acres in the A40. Unless Angie has anything else that I'm missing. Those are the highlights, I'd say.
Well, you couldn't do animal units or you couldn't do solar farms in the T20.
Correct. You can have some animal units, but not nearly what you could have in an ag district.
T20 is a unique zone that doesn't exist anymore, but Painesville Township, I don't know if they invented it, but they embraced it if they didn't invent it.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and I was going to ask about that. Do we still use it in the county, the T20? And then my question would be, would we, if we go Ag 40 and there's a change of plans with the solar garden, has it been changed to Ag 40 and you cannot go back to T20?
Mr. Chair, that is correct. T20 and residential 20 are closed districts, which means they could not apply to go back to T20.
And again, I want to make it clear that the rezone is strictly the A40. It's not acting on any request with the A40.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, another question for staff then would be, what would be the options if it was going to be anything other than Ag 40? What would it most likely transition back to if T20 is no longer available?
The next option would be a residential 10, an R10 district. Either that, you go from R10 to A40 to Ag 80.
And it could certainly remain A40 and continue to be farmed as it is today. They wouldn't be losing the current use in any way, shape, or form.
And if, let's say there was going to be solar farm doesn't go, instead it's going to be a large feedlot, there's all the feedlot requirements that come in before anything would be approved along those lines, considering its proximity to town. Is that accurate?
Yes, that would be correct, Jennifer speaking. They would have to meet all the feedlot requirements, such as setbacks from adjacent homes and the permitting and such, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, members? Comments? If not, let's open the public hearing. Is there anyone with us via WebEx or audio that would like to share something with us? Is there anyone other than the applicants from on WebEx or audio that would want to share something? Do you have any communication, written communication?
No letters were submitted for this one.
Okay, and if there's no one with us, no letters, probably be a motion to be in order to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman, motion to close the hearing.
Okay. Second.
Mr. Chair, Sean Blackburn, I'll second that motion.
Okay, Jason Wienerman moves to close it. Sean Blackburn seconds it. Discussion on that. If not, if you're in favor of closing public hearing, say aye when I call your name. Jason Wienerman.
Aye.
Sean Blackburn.
Aye.
Jason Crone.
Aye.
Ken Mossman.
Aye.
Mike Perrell.
Aye.
Rich Blankish.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Public hearing is closed. Discussion by members.
Just a
the
quick
findings. Nope, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, just a quick note. We are regaining ag land. This doesn't happen often, so we are seeing something move back into the ag sector.
You're right, as long as we don't allow something non-ag to occur. So this step is what we're acting on. You're right. Number one, does the proposal conform to the county's comprehensive plan?
Mr. Chair, it does. This site in the comp plan is the ag zone. Under ag goals, it supports ag goal number 1, support ag as a desirable land use for the long term and facilitate diversification of the county's ag economy.
2, is proposed rezoning compatible with the present and future land uses in the area? Present zoning, proposed zoning, present zoning is T20, proposed zoning is A40, future land use map, Lisa score is 63 something, scenic views, rural character.
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, I believe it's pretty consistent with the surrounding area. The rezoning we discussed, and it's probably the most appropriate recognized, I shouldn't say recognized, but allowable zoning that exists today.
I agree. It's been farmed for as long as I can remember, and there's no houses being built near the property, well, within a mile. 3, are there environmental concerns that should be considered as part of the rezoning request?
Mr. Chair, it's already farmed. I think we're okay there.
4, has information been provided regarding impact property values as a result of the rezoning?
Mr. Chair, this is Rich. No, there hasn't, and there's no need to.
5, is there a potential for public health, safety, traffic generation impacts based on the proposed rezoning?
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, do not believe there is.
6, how does the rezoning affect existing public services, schools, parks, streets, and utilities?
Mr. Chair, no change.
7, other issues pertinent to this matter. I think we should just make it clear that this is a rezoning request to go from the T20 to Ag 40 with no other understandings. With that, a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chair, this is Rich. I make a motion that we approve the rezoning.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman, I second.
Okay. Rich Blankish moves to recommend approval of the county board for their January 5th, 2021 meeting. Jason Wienerman seconds it. If you're for recommending the county board, when I call your name, say aye. If you're opposed, say nay. Jason Wienerman.
Aye.
Sean Blackburn.
Aye.
Jason Crone.
Aye.
Ken Mossman.
Aye.
Mike Burrell.
Aye.
Rich Blankish.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. So the recommend approval of A40 is approved. Good work, guys. We actually are gaining some ag land, as Jason said. Item number 5, to consider rezoning requests submitted by Kayla and Jordan Block, Cold Spring, on behalf of Scott and Amanda Bergamer. Jennifer, do you want to do the staff report, please?
Yes, this request is actually just moving about a mile to the west from our previous site, and they're asking to rezone about 5 acres from agricultural 40 to residential 5. This property is in section 6, and it is located at 29415 Roseville Road Northeast, Paynesville. So the entire property here is, okay, I don't have it listed, but this would be coming off of a larger parcel. I believe it's around 30 acres, and they're requesting to rezone 5 of it to residential 5 with the plans for having 1 new lot for a new home there. The property again has access from Roseville Road, so that's a township road. Currently, it is farmed. I believe it's been cut for hay. There is some wetland within that 5-acre property as well. Looking at the surrounding area, there's 3 homes and no registered feedlots within a half a mile. We are on the county line here, so the property directly west across the road is Candy-Ojai County. So in Candy-Ojai County, looking at their zoning, it's their agricultural 2A2 zone. In that zone, the township or the county allows a maximum of 4 building entitlements per quarter. Flipping back to the Stearns County side, it's A40 to the north and east, and then directly to the south is T20. As far as their development options, under their current A40 zone, they are not allowed to have another home there, but with a R5 zone rezoning, they would have 1 new building entitlement. And then I also checked the adjacent properties to see what was available around them. They really just have 1 adjacent property owner in Stearns County, which is the Vogley property, and they would have building entitlements available on that property. And looking at the comprehensive plan, it is in an ag rural district in the future land use map. The LISA score was 82.05. Painesville Township recommended approval of the rezoning. And let's see, I did visit the site on December 9th, and I don't have any letters from the public on this one either.
Okay. Would members have a problem if we took a 5-minute break?
I'm all for that, Jeff.
Okay.
No problem at all.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break and we'll be right back.
Can I ask Jennifer a question real quick?
Sure.
Is she listening?
She is. Yep.
Oh, the LISA score, is that on just the 5 acres or is that on that 40 acres that they're going to take the 5 from?
That was just on the 5.
Just on the 5. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, 5-minute break. We'll be right back.
I am here, Mr. Chair. Jason Crum.
Why don't I'll quickly go through. Jason Wienerman, are you with us?
Here.
Sean Blackburn. Jason Crone's here. Ken Mossman.
Yes.
Mike Perrell.
Yes.
Rich Blankish.
You bet.
Joe Persky.
Yes, I'm here.
I'm here. Sean Blackburn, are you with us? As soon as we hear from Sean, we can start back up. Sean? I hope you heard 5 minutes, not 50 minutes. Sean Blackburn, we're waiting for you.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Oh, now I saw it.
Sean Blackburn, are you with us? I hate to start without him. Sean, are you with us? Can somebody text him?
No. I'll try calling him.
If you guys haven't sent my Christmas presents yet, you might want to do it because Amazon and FedEx, everybody's backed up a little bit, so you might want to do it within the next day or two.
I'll be calling Speedy.
Or you can drop it off when you're at all these Painesville site reviews that we had this month. You could have dropped it off. I guess it was Painesville month.
We'll drop mine off on the way out fishing, Jeff.
There you go. Thank you. If it's fish, that'll be okay. Sean Blackburn, are you with us? We're going to, what's that? Okay. Sean, are you with us? Sean?
Yes, I'm.
We sent out the sheriff's department looking for you. So thank you. I was afraid you heard me say 50 minutes and not 5 minutes. Okay, we're here. Everybody's here. The gang's all here. So we were right at the place where we were going to do members. If you visit the site in your staff report, Jennifer, I'm sorry, you did identify you were, right?
Yes, correct.
Got it. So if you were at the site, say yes when I call your name. Jason Wienerman?
Yes.
Sean Blackburn?
Yes.
Jason Crone?
Yes, sir.
Ken Mossman?
Yes.
Mike Perrell?
Yes.
Rich Blankish?
Yes.
Commissioner Persky?
Yes.
And I was there. Okay. Applicant introductions. We're not exactly sure who we have with us. Amanda Rugemer, maybe Scott, and maybe Jordan Block. So if you're part of the applicant team, please say your name and your address for the record.
Hello, everyone. This is Amanda and Scott Rugemer. Our address is 29415 Roseville Road.
Okay, is Scott there with you? Then Scott, say your name and address as well.
Hi, it's Scott Rugemer, 29415 Roseville Road.
Okay. Is Mr. Block with us? Evidently not. Okay. Anything you want to add to the staff report, Scott and Amanda?
Nothing other than that it's for a single family home for family. And I don't know, she said that the current 5 acres is used for hay for the most part. And it is a lower land, so it's not the best for farming. My father farms it right now, and he said to continue to farm it, he would need to put tile in it. So I don't know if that makes a difference with anything like that, but I just wanted that to be known as well.
Okay. But this 5 acres, just to that point, the Lisa score, Jennifer, you said was directly to this 5 acres, and 82 is a high score.
That's correct. The Lisa we did was just on the 5 acres. The land evaluation, which looks solely at the soils, scored 45 out of 50. And then the site assessment scored 37. So it looks like, given the fact that there's very few homes in this area, that brings the score up. It's on a township road, not near city water or sewer, and the comp plan shows it as being ag. So those are all items that brought that score up.
Thank you, Jennifer. And then remind me, how many acres is the total?
The total parcel is 21 acres.
So what are you going to be doing with the rest of the acreage, Scott and Amanda?
The other 2, we will be we're not going to be farming anymore. We're going to be doing trees and grassland and stuff like that to split up the 2 homes.
So the 26 acres basically is
and the other part is pasture. That is still used for hay. On the what is it, like 7 or 8 acres on the other side of the driveway. On the north side of the driveway is still used for hay. It was a pasture at one time. That will continue to be that.
Lawn and trees.
Yeah, the rest is just pasture as well in the back. So.
Yeah. So anything else you want to add to the staff report?
No, I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody on WebEx or audio that wants to say something on this item?
Jordan Block, sorry, I was struggling with technical difficulties here, so I apologize. I was listening, couldn't get it to work.
Got it. You want to state your name and address for the record?
Yep, Jordan Block, 508 Walnut Street, Cold Spring. And I would just reiterate what Amanda had said, that we're looking to just build a single-family home. So
okay.
I thank you guys for your time. So
okay. So is there anyone other than the applicants that are with us on WebEx or audio that want to say something at this time? Last chance. Is there anybody with us? You said you had no correspondence. Okay, motion to close the public hearing would be in order.
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman, so moved.
This is Rich, second.
Okay, Jason Wienerman moves, Rich seconds to close the public hearing. Any discussion? If not, when I call your name, if you're for closing the public hearing, say aye. Jason Wienerman?
Aye.
Sean Blackburn?
Aye.
Jason Crone?
Aye.
Ken Mossman?
Aye.
Mike Terrell?
Aye.
Rich Blankish?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Public hearing is closed. Discussion by members. Any questions or comments by planning commission members?
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman here. Just a quick question for the applicants. It might be too early in the process, but have you thought about where on the parcel you're looking to build?
Kind of tough to Jordan Block, sorry. I've kind of looked a little bit. I'm thinking kind of more the middle of the lot, the north of where you see the wetland area there. So from where your cursor is, basically where the word requested would be, somewhere in there. But it's, still very early on. Haven't really done a whole lot more than that. So.
Thank you.
I think the sensitivity that some of us have to the Rugemers and Mr. Black is when you take, when you do something like this and you take ag land and you turn it into trees and grass and non-farmable, and if you build a house in the middle of the lot, basically completely eliminating the chance of ever farming that's a sensitivity to some of us more than others, but I think that's maybe why the question was asked. Even though it's premature, by us allowing you to do this, we're going to be taking 20-some acres out of egg production. So I think that's why the question was asked. Any other questions from?
Chair, I've got a question for Jennifer or Angie. We're going with R5 here. Is it a requirement of the township that has a minimum? Why would we not be requesting an R10?
That's a good point. It is not a township requirement. I believe the intention was to split off 5 acres, so that's why the R5 was requested. R10 would certainly be an option. So but the whole 20 acres would have to be rezoned to R10 or just 10 acres, but they couldn't just do 5 acres to R10.
So then is it possible with the 20 acres, could they then do 4 lots of R5? Is that possible?
If they were requesting the whole 20 be rezoned to R5, then yes, they could have up to 5 homes. Their request was actually just to rezone 5 acres to R5.
And is that not is that the smallest that we can go as far as a rural parcel?
The township minimum
individual parcel?
Yeah, the township minimum lot. The township minimum size is 2 acres for a new residential lot. Okay. That would have to be an R1 zone. Or you could do an R5 on 5 acres and then they just split off 2 acres.
I'm just curious if you going to 2 acres, it would almost be nice to see a plat. Going to 5 acres, I guess when I just see land being split up, I guess I thought 10 was commonly the smallest that we would go. And then if we go to 5 acres, we start running into density issues. But I mean, if it's been done in the past, I guess I'm just curious as to where we were and where we might be going with this in the future and the areas around it. So that's why I'm asking the question. But so the bottom line is an R5 is appropriate in this area, and we will continue to work with R5.
Commissioner Persky, I guess that's what the Planning Commission would need to decide tonight, is if R5 is appropriate here in this location.
Maybe it'd be appropriate to ask the Brueggemers and Mr. Block, why did you ask for R5 when you went to the township? Sometimes, let me just preface it by saying this, sometimes you have a perception in your mind of what you have to do to kind of be able to do what you want to do. I hear you saying you want to build a house, but if you could do that in different ways with still keeping land available to potentially be farmed, would you be open to doing that?
I can kind of answer that question right now. We chose R5 was because Jordan and Kayla were looking for 5 acres or so of land to have as their own. And honestly, the tillable land that we have is only 7 acres, which is that field. And like I said, it's quality land, but it also will need to be tiled for it to be, half of it's typically underwater most of the year, the north side towards the driveway. So that's why they chose the 5 acres that's a little bit higher, but with the wetlands. I don't think they were looking for a 2-acre lot. That wasn't kind of why we did it. We did it because they wanted more land. And like we said, there was only 7 acres of tillable land that we had. We have 22 acres, but there's only 7 that was tillable to begin with. The people that owned our land before us, they owned horses and they did racing horses. So it was all just pasture land before that, if that makes sense.
Okay, members, any other questions or anything?
A question for staff. Jason Crone, I thought I understood earlier, basically the property to the south, that's all zone T20. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
In which case it would allow more housing units per acre than what the Ag 40 allows. Is that also accurate?
Correct. In the T20, they could have 1 home per 20 acres. Yep. And in the A40, it's 1 home per 40 acres.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Ken?
Mr. Chair, this is Ken Mossman. Now, you were talking about an R10. There is an animal density if they were to zone this R10, even if they only took 5 acres, they could have a larger number of, say they wanted to have horses or a few cattle or whatever, or sheep or goats, where the R5, they're a lot more restricted. That's something that could come into play too, right?
Yes, that's correct, Jennifer here. There is a difference in what is allowed as far as animals. So in the R5, it's pretty limited, mostly just chickens or domestic pets. But in the R10, there would be the ability to have, you know, perhaps a horse or 2 or goats or something like that.
No elephants, though.
Correct.
We haven't talked about elephants for a while. And again, just sometimes applicants haven't thought this all through, to the Rugemers and Mr. Block, for your purposes and potentially for someone that you were to sell this to one day. Has that entered into your minds at all that you may want to have a few animals?
No, we aren't looking for animals. I mean, we've talked about it, but no, we have dogs and cats, and that's about as good as it's going to get in this household. So, even with the farm.
And Mr. Block?
Yeah, no, more just like a dog. That would be about it.
Okay. Any other questions or input from the planning commission members? That we'll go to the findings of facts. Oh, go ahead.
This should be a quick question now. For the applicants, Amanda, who's currently farming that property? Are you guys leasing it out, or did you say your dad is farming that today?
Yeah, just to the west of us, my dad owns land, and he's been farming it for the last 20 years. Even before we bought it, our neighbor had rented it to him. So he has been farming there for a very long time. So yeah.
Okay. And was he looking to not farm that property anymore, or I guess what precipitated which?
Actually, I'll just say it was actually his idea to, you know, if we had somebody that was interested in the land, just because it was typically underwater. So, I mean, what he could plant in there was minimal in the 7 acres and what he got out of it. So without having to do some work and putting money into it, it wasn't worth him continuing to farm it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, the findings. Number one, does the proposal conform to the county's comprehensive plan? Why or why not? Future land use map, goals and objectives.
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, I do not think it applies to agricultural goals at all, but I do believe it applies to some of the housing goals or living goals in creating, I'm trying to find my spot here, living goals. Back to one that we referenced earlier, support housing options that give people in all stages and all economic means viable choices for safe, stable, and affordable homes.
Okay. 2, is the proposed rezoning compatible with the present and future land uses in the area of the proposal? Present zoning. A40, proposed zoning R5, future land use map would be what?
Mr. Chair, I would say it's not compatible with the future land use map ag rural area, and that LISA score is awfully high. So in terms of question 2, I would say it's not compatible. The zoning request is not compatible with the future land use goal.
And the LISA score is 82.05. It's any views in rural character, which would be agriculture. 3, are there environmental concerns that should be considered as part of the rezoning request?
Mr. Chair, just the wetland on the site. So avoidance and minimization of any impact to the wetland regarding the building of the house, locating of driving, and those kind of features.
Mr. Chair, Mike Prell, one of my concerns is if it's, from what they say, too wet for farmland without tiling, I'd be concerned on the compatibility of it to be having a house put on it then.
Okay. 4, has information been provided regarding the impact of property values in the area and the result of the rezoning?
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, they have not been provided.
5, is there a potential for public health, safety, traffic generation impacts based on the proposed rezoning, and how will they be addressed?
Mr. Chair, this is Rich. That would be very minimal, if any, impact.
6, how does the rezoning affect existing public services and facilities, including schools, parks, streets, and utilities?
Mr. Chair, as Rich stated on the previous one, it should be minimal. It'll be adding 1 additional family unit, housing unit to the site. So there will be an impact, but it should be minimal.
7, other issues pertinent to this matter.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if this is the right spot to log. This is an interesting one because when we look at the ag goals, it doesn't fit. However, I kind of go back to property owners, and if I'm looking at the person that's, or I consider this case, and you get the group that's farming the property, and it's less desirable land for them. They are looking at trying to invest to make it viable. I wonder if keeping it in what we typically would want to do and not breaking up agriculture, is this one that you're kind of being too rigid to those agricultural goals may inhibit the landowner's prerogatives. How do you draw that balance? And I wonder if this is one that's worth fighting for the ag as hard as we otherwise would. I don't know if this is the right spot to put this one or those comments, but I see that as being the conflict on this particular application.
And Mr. Chair, if I can sort of add to that, the township board also recommended approval of this rezoning request.
Okay. So we've done the findings. A motion would be in order to approve or deny a recommendation to the county board.
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, I'm going to recommend approval to the county board for this rezoning.
This is Rich. I would second that.
Okay, motion's been made by Jason Crone, seconded by Rich Blankish to recommend approval to the county board for their January 5th, 2021 meeting. If you're in favor of that recommendation, say aye. If you're opposed, say nay. Jason Wienerman?
Aye.
Sean Blackburn?
Aye.
Jason Crone?
Aye.
Ken Mossman?
Nay.
Mike Burrell?
Nay.
Rich Blankish?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. 5-2 recommended to the county board. Some of the work for this really does have to be done at the township level and applicant levels. Again, sometimes people don't know exactly what they're asking for or what's going to be done with it. So we can't carry the burden all by ourselves, I guess. Next item, number 6, to consider a rezoning request submitted by USS Great River Solar and Meadowbrook Dairy Farm, Sartell. Jennifer, you want to do the staff report?
Yes, this is a request to rezone 8.49 acres from the residential 10 district to the A40 district. This is in section 33 of Brockway Township. We're right on County Road 1. The property address is 38545 County Road 1, Sartell. So on this property, there was a previous rezoning of 15 acres. Back in 2017, they went from R10 to A40 and a solar garden was constructed there. So now the request is to rezone an additional 8.49 acres to A40 to have an additional solar garden on the property. Currently, the property is farmland. There is quite a number of homes in the property, 68 homes within a half mile and 1 registered feedlot. The zoning in this area is really primarily residential, other than the 15 acres that was rezoned to ag in 2017. And then the property actually directly to the south is industrial. There's a gravel pit there and some industrial use on that property. This is within the drinking water supply management area for the city of St. Cloud. As far as development options go, 1 home would be allowed on this 8.49 acres currently under the R10, but if rezoned to A40, then no homes would be allowed on it. In the comp plan on the future land use map, this is in a concentrated residential district. And we ran a Lisa again on the whole parcel, 157 acres, that was 77.5. And then Lisa just on the 8 acres for rezoning is 72.8. So both scores were above the 65 threshold. Brockway Township recommended approval of the rezoning. And I did visit the site December 9th, and I don't have any public correspondence on this one.
Okay, members, if you visited the site, say yes when I call your name. Jason Wienerman?
Yes.
Sean Blackburn?
Yes.
Jason Crone?
Yes.
Ken Mossman?
Yes.
Mike Perrell,
Yes.
Rich Blankish,
Yes.
Commissioner Persky,
Yes.
and the chair was there as well. Applicant introduction, evidently Michelle Sims from USS Solar is going to be joining us via WebEx. Are you with us?
I am, yes. Good evening, Mr.
Please state your name. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair and Planning Commission. My name is Michelle Sims. I am with US Solar, representative for USS Great River Solar LLC. Address is 100 North 6th Street, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 55403.
Is there anything you want to add to the staff report?
I'm also here with US Solar. Quick comments here. Thank you for taking the time to consider our proposal for this 157-acre parcel owned by Meadowbrook Dairy Farm. This parcel is currently zoned residential 10, and as mentioned in the staff report, in 2017, 15 acres were rezoned from residential 10 to agriculture 40 to allow for a community solar garden, which has since been built. There is enough land on this parcel for a second community solar garden without majorly impacting the landowner's center pivot irrigator, which they will be continuing to use to farm the property. So we are now requesting a second rezoning of 8.49 acres. And a couple additional comments here. The future land use map for Stearns County identifies this area as concentrated residential. And if our request here is to be approved, the intended use of a solar garden will be a temporary land use with an initial term of 25 years. And once the solar garden is decommissioned, that agricultural land can be allocated to concentrated residential development or any use as desired by the landowner and allowed by the county, putting the proposed rezoning in line with future land use map. As mentioned, the LISA score for this 8.49 acre part of the parcel is 72.8, and the intended use of this rezoning application is an agricultural use in Stearns County and would be vegetated with pollinator-friendly habitat, and it is also a potential site for beekeeping. The rezoning and intended application for a conditional use permit aligns with the county's comprehensive land plan and will fulfill statements and focus areas in the agricultural pillar, living pillar, business pillar, connectivity pillar, and nature pillar. And the rezoning request would not impact surrounding property values, public health and safety, nor provide any traffic generation impacts. So on behalf of USS Great River Solar LLC, we respectfully request the Planning Commission recommend approval of our proposal to rezone 8.49 acres to agricultural 40 zoning. Thank you for your time.
It sounded like you had a sidekick from US Solar with you.
Yes, this is Colin Kobayashi, also with US Solar, also from 100 North 6th Street, Minneapolis. Just here to help assist with questions if needed.
I just wanted to make sure you got paid for being with us tonight, so I wanted to make sure you got recognized.
Yeah, I want it on the record, so when we look back for this, I do get paid for it. Thank you.
Right. It's kind of unique that the property owner isn't requesting the rezoning, because again, let's not get confused. The rezoning request is not advocating for the solar farm. So there are two different things, just to be clear. Did you do the other solar farm?
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the other solar farm was also developed and operated by US Solar.
So do you guys get together and decide this, that you're going to start putting 1 megawatt farms beside each other? Instead of doing them together, you just start doing them separately to circumvent the PUC requirements, or how does that work?
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So though currently with Xcel Energy's program for community solar, the limit for a single project is 1 megawatt, which is what the first project was and what this proposed, if this rezoning passes, then the anticipated use would be also 1 megawatt solar facility. In this specific land use case, the existing project is set away from the center pivot in such a way that it left a certain amount of land that could still be developed for other uses such as community solar without interfering with the center pivot's path. And so that provided an opportunity for the landowner to receive an additional income stream through participating in community solar while still getting to use full use of their center pivot and irrigation system.
Okay. We're going to open up the public hearing. Is there anyone with us via WebEx or audio that would want to share comments on this item? Is there anyone with us on WebEx or audio that would want to share comments with us? And Jennifer, you said there was no correspondence. Yep. Okay, motion to close public hearing.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Sean.
Sean Blackburn, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it. This is Rich.
Motion by Johnny come lately, Sean, and seconded by Rich. Any discussion on that? If not, when I call your name, if you're for closing the public hearing, say aye. Jason Wienerman?
Aye.
Sean Blackburn?
Aye.
Jason Crone?
Aye.
Ken Mossman?
Aye.
Mike Perrell?
Aye.
Rich Blankish?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Public hearing is closed. Discussion by members?
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone. Am I the only one that struggles with how this is laid out? I love
no.
Back to,
not to interrupt you, but no, you're not the only one.
Okay, all right. It just really doesn't seem to make any sense based on trends that we are seeing in that area with everything wanting to shift. It seems appropriately zoned as R10. And I'd be totally cool going back to A40 if it was the entire block, but this is just really spot zoning that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, other comments from members?
Well, Mr. Chair, I think when we approved the first section to be made A40, it was, well, the irrigator doesn't hit this, like the LISA score really should be a different LISA score in an area where an irrigator doesn't hit, because they've told us in the past a LISA score is considered, it could be irrigated. Well, those corners cannot be irrigated, but now they're going right out to where their irrigator can go like 3/4 of a round, and then they're going to have to run it backward. It can't run through there. So the only reason I see to do this is monetarily. There's a lot more money to be made on 8 acres of a solar farm than there is 8 acres of growing corn or soybeans at the present time.
Other discussion? Okay, hearing none, then we're going to do the findings. Number 1, does the proposal conform to the county's comprehensive plan? Why or why not?
Mr. Chair, you could argue this both ways. This is Jason Crum, by the way. I'm going to go with it does not, though, with the living goals again. Right now, it's zoned R10, and that fits under encouraging new homes to be constructed in a sustainable manner while including energy efficient technology in accordance with the state building code. That's all good. But the one that really, to me, is the big one is manage the impacts of growth and development on the county's rural character and natural resources. In this case, we've got a whole bunch of residential all around it. And right now it is agriculture, so it makes sense if the entire block is going to go to agriculture, like we'd be, going into some of the agricultural goals. But with an 8-acre L, we're really not hitting any of the agricultural goals, and to me, we're detracting from the living goals. So my stance.
Okay. Agreed. 2, is the proposed rezoning compatible with present and future land uses in the area of the proposal?
Mr. Chair, I would say it is, seeing as the site is currently ag, and the proposed future production of the site will be right next to another solar site. So I do think it is compatible with the existing land use around it.
The present zoning is R10. Proposed zoning is A40. Lisa score is, help me.
72.8.
72.8. Scenic views, rural character. It's a combination of residential and rural character. Future land use map.
And Mr. Chair, I'd also like us to encourage thinking about this site the same way we did the Painesville site. We're looking at the zoning now. We're not approving the solar site. So should try to treat the two sites similar if we can.
And I agree. And this is, in my opinion, this is different because it's got a lot more residential and it's zoned R10. In Painesville, we went from ag to residential. Here we're going the other way in the area that's already developed and already farmed. But so I think they are two different.
Well, I was referring to the site we did from transitional to ag.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One of the things that this is Rich, excuse me. One of the things that we should also be thinking at, looking at is just south is industrial with potential, if that's a gravel pit, if I understand, and if I recall correctly when we looked at it. Maybe down the road in the reclamation of the gravel pit, you could put solar arrays inside that gravel pit area. So, I mean, I'm just thinking a little bigger picture in regards to solar development there.
Okay. So we have both. It is compatible. It's not compatible. Number 3, are there environmental concerns that should be considered as part of the rezoning request?
Mr. Chair, Jason Crum, I do not believe that there are.
There could be, with the residential area there, depending upon what's going to be done. Again, we're just doing the rezoning, but depending upon what's done, it could be, in my opinion. 4, has information been provided regarding impact property values in the area as a result of the rezoning?
No, it hasn't, Jeff. This is Rich.
Thank you. 5, is there a potential for public health, safety, traffic generation impacts based on the proposed rezoning, and how will they be addressed?
That should be, go ahead.
Should be minimal. Jason, minimal.
Going to A40, I agree. 6, how does the rezoning affect existing public services, schools, parks, streets, utilities?
Mr. Chair, Jason Crone, I think minimally, if at all.
7, other issues pertinent to the matter.
I think I saw the township recommended approval for this. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So the township recommended approval of the request.
Okay. So motion would be in order to recommend approval or denial.
Mr. Chair, Jason Wiederman recommend approval of the zoning before the Board of Commissioners at the upcoming meeting.
Motion's been made by Jason to recommend approval of the county board January 5th, 2021. Is there a second?
I'll second that. This is Rich.
Okay. Motion's been made by Jason Wienerin, second by Rich Blankish, to recommend approval to the county board. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of recommending it to the county board, say aye when I call your name. Say nay if you're not. Jason Wienerman.
Aye.
Sean Blackburn.
Aye.
Jason Crone.
Nay.
Ken Mossman.
Nay.
Mike Perrell.
Nay.
Rich Blankish.
Aye.
Chair votes no. Is that 4-3?
Correct. Motion does not pass 4-3.
So a motions needs to be made to recommend denial of the application to the county board.
Mr. Chair, if I may have some clarification here.
Right now we're voting, so we're done with the input. We're voting right now. So the motion failed, and members, we need a motion to recommend denial because of the failed motion.
Mr. Chair, Ken Mossman, I'll make that motion.
Okay, Ken Mossman moves to recommend denial of the rezoning request. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I second that. Jason Crone.
Jason Crone seconds it. Is there any further discussion from members on the motion to recommend denial? If you're for recommending denial, say aye when I call your name. If you're against recommending denial, say no. Jason Wienerman.
No.
Sean Blackburn.
Aye.
Jason Crone.
Aye.
Ken Mossman.
Aye.
Mike Perrell.
Aye.
Rich Blankish.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. 6-1. Recommendation to recommend denial to the county board. Okay. Item number 7. The first of all, congratulations to Rich Blankish and Mike Perrell. The board recommended reappointment to both of them. Mike Perrell as the 5th district and Rich Blankish as an at-large member to the Planning Commission. So we'll have to put up with him for at least another 3 years. We'll do the congratulations. We're going to do the appointments to the Board of Adjustment. The next commissioner district is Jason Crone's. So, Jason, I know you were contemplating whether or not you wanted to do that or not. Did you make a decision?
Well, I did. Pending, quick question. So as it stands today, with the COVID situation we're in, that's limiting, for my job, the amount of travel that I typically would do. And just knowing that it's also limiting all my kids' activities. So there's only so much time in the day. My question is, my understanding is this is a 1-year commitment. If we get into summer or I have to throw in the white towel because things are back to normal. I'm traveling all the time, running the kids' activities. Is it something at that point I could step away if I couldn't take it?
I can answer that. The answer is yes. you could, if it came to that.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'll do, I hate committing to stuff and then not being able to, hit the commitments as intended. But if that's okay, I will then go ahead and roll with that. I think it'd be interesting, hopefully rewarding thing to participate in.
Jason, the other option, I don't know, do you anticipate the following year to be any better or actually worse? I mean,
It'll be worse.
That would be
Could be a good window.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we could delay it for another year or two and then have you come on. It's your call.
This is our best shot. Let's fire.
Okay, then let's go with it. All right.
So then Jason Crone will be the Planning Commission representative to the Board of Adjustment. When I was looking over the members, Commissioner Audi told me when I was on the Planning Commission, I was on the City Council, and when my turn came up for the Board of Adjustment, I could not serve on the Board of Adjustment because I was an elected official. Did that change? Because I noticed Jason Houck is on the school board and he's on the Board of Adjustment. Maybe that was just an oversight, I'm not sure.
Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Commission, I would have to look back at what changed. What changed was an interpretation. The county, either administrator's office or attorney's office, interpreted the law differently. It basically, I don't have it in front of me, but yes, there was an interpretation change, not a statute change.
So elected members can serve on the Board of Adjustment.
That is my understanding.
Got it. But yeah, just confirm that, because I guess all what I knew is what was however many years ago, and then I happened to see that name, and I was curious. Plating Committee, I'm the representative to the Plating Committee. I think we met 3 times, Jennifer. So
yep, that's about right.
If somebody else wants to do it, certainly can. Otherwise, I'll continue to serve whatever members wish.
Rock and roll, Jeff.
I vote for Jeff.
Jason and I might have to take turns. I might have to go to your kids' event, and because there won't be any meetings, and you can go to the Board of Adjustments. I'll grow a beard, but you got to give me a couple of months. So unless somebody really wants that, again, we're really not meeting. And then the Park Commission, I think currently, is it Ken?
No, it's me, Rich, that's on there.
Oh, Rich is on there? Yeah. You want to continue on that?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, any member have an issue with that or really burning desire to do it? If not, then we'll keep
Rich on it.
Okay, we'll keep Rich on that one. Next order of business would be the minutes of November 19th, 2020.
Mr. Chair, Jason Wienerman recommends approval of minutes.
Okay. Jason has moved to recommend approval of the minutes of November 19th.
This is Rich. I'll second that.
Okay, Rich seconds it. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, if you're in favor of approving the minutes, when I call your name, say aye. Jason Wienerman.
Aye.
Sean Blackburn.
Aye.
Jason Crone.
Aye.
Ken Mossman.
Aye.
Mike Kroll.
Aye.
Rich Blankish.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Minutes are approved. Other discussion, discuss format of comprehensive goals and objectives. Angie, I assume, or Jennifer, who?
Yeah. I'll just cover this quickly. So the last 3 or 4 meetings in your packets, you've gotten each agenda item had a few pages of goals and objectives where we kind of marked which ones we thought might apply. And then at the beginning of your packet was the whole master list of all the pillars and the goals from every pillar. What we would like to find out is if you prefer one format or the other. Do you like having that master list at the beginning of the packet, or do you prefer to have them after each item? Or do you want us to just keep doing both? Just kind of looking for feedback on that.
So Jason Wienerman, I like having the master list at the beginning because it allows you to free form through each ones, and then also have the recommended ones for each thing we're looking for. It's nice to have the supporting of both. That's just my thought.
Jason Crone, I agree with Jason.
So do I. I agree that both are good.
Yeah, this is Rich. I also like that setup.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll just keep doing it that way.
Mr. Chair, I do have one thing, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Angie Berg, I need to apologize because I did not send the Planning Commission an update after the County Commissioners meeting on Tuesday. I was not at the meeting, therefore I failed to update you. So my apologies.
You're cutting out a little bit, Angie, for some reason.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. My apologies for not emailing the Planning Commission Tuesday after the county board meeting for the Cozy Corners item. They did continue that until January 5th for us to work with the property owner and a neighbor on some concerns, and also for continuation of a issues identification list that we've been working on. So we will keep you updated as we know more.
And you might want to remind everybody about the meeting on Monday night.
Yes, thank you. Yes, the meeting on Monday night is our Ordinance Review Committee, County Commissioners, Planning Commission. We will be meeting at 3:30 p.m. So we go every other. So this is our early meeting. And if you wanted a printed packet and you didn't ask for one yet, let us know. We can somehow get it to you tomorrow. If not, we hope you have a chance to look through some of that before our meeting on Monday. And we are talking about RVs and solar.
Okay. Anything from commission members that you want to bring up or that we should talk about in the future? If not,
I
go
was
ahead,
just going to
Jason.
say I like the direction I think we went with a couple of the vacation home rentals. There's people in shortening the IUP period. It seems like the same concerns come up, and just in case one of these ends up being valid, or there ends up being concerns that we're not aware of now, I like going to that shorter period. So I was glad to hear everyone sharing that sentiment.
Yeah. What I thought that maybe part of the process when they apply for the vacation rentals, that the local fire department or first responders have a look-see at that in regards to, is it accessible where they can get their equipment down to the rental? I think it just kind of gives them a heads up, and we don't have to deal with that. We're talking about something that we have no control over in regards to access, and who knows what they can do. Just something to think about. I don't know.
And I agree, Commissioner Persky brought up a good point. I remember we did some platting or additional homes in Collegeville Township. And I mean, it was just a mess. I stopped going down the road with the Suburban because it was starting to hit the Suburban, and we approved it. And the fire department, quite frankly, said it was okay. But there was no way in the world you were going to get, and part of our direction is health and safety. And I think, again, every time we see one of these, it's something new or different. In my opinion, these two were very different. And so we need to be more aware of that. And maybe staff, if you see that something's really, really tight, you might just want to recommend, you might want to have the fire department look at this before the meeting or something. If it's, by the time we see it, obviously it's already noticed and everything else, but these were definitely, in my opinion, more unique. So maybe we don't have to do it across the board, but certainly in situations like this, I think it was relevant.
I know it's late. Quick side story though. On that second applicant, we're all familiar with the the driveway / road. Imagine if you've seen the movie Austin Powers, picture me trying to finagle a 25-foot dock out of that road on a trailer. That was a special evening.
if anybody could do it, Jason, it would be you.
Yeah, I thought I was going to need a chainsaw, but we made it.
Well,
Mr. Chair, Ken,
yes.
We have to remember on these vacation homes that even if we do it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, they come up for a yearly renewal, so they can lose their license at any point in time. It isn't like when we say 20 years, they're done for 20 years. No, every year it comes up for renewal, so they can lose it at any point in time.
That's good to know. Thanks, Ken.
And that's a good point. I don't know how many licenses we've ever revoked in anything, but that is, if it's bad enough and consistent enough, you're right. That's the whole point of issuing it, is it can be revoked. So if that's it.
I just want to comment. I think in my 4 years, this was probably the meeting in which we had the least number of unanimous votes or consistent strong votes, and I don't think that's a bad thing. And so I just want to applaud each one of you commissioners for, you know, voting your mind and standing up for what you believe in on these issues, because that's what we need. We need to ferret out which direction we want to take these things. So thanks for that, and wish everybody, well, I'll see you, I guess, on Monday. Otherwise, we got the new year coming. So I'll say Happy New Year then.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
We good luck, Commissioner, explaining all those votes and all those issues to the board.
Oh boy.
Yes, to the Planning Commission, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thanks for everything you do. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm just going to adjourn the meeting without a roll call.
Okay.
Meeting's adjourned.